Commission to order. Welcome everyone. I'm Ted Kempton, Chair of the Commission. If you are here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff will then present their report. Following staff report, we will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will ask questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioners will then discuss the case and will make their decision based on Chapter 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee comments, and the testimony given at the public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence cell phones. And we'll start on my left with introductions of commissioners.
Elena Ketchum, Attorney Representative.
John Prokop, I practice architecture.
Dan Myers, architect.
Tim Jones, general contractor.
Okay, also in attendance, we have Dennis Fernandez, Ron Vila, Jared Barnum, and our attorney, Dana Crosby-Collier, in attendance. Okay, I'm looking for a motion for minutes.
Move to accept the October 6th and the October 8th minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dennis Fernandez, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Manager. Welcome to this evening's public hearing, and welcome to those joining us in the audience and on CPTV. We did have some technical problems putting together the monthly staff approval list. We'll bring that to you at a future hearing when we're able to compile that for you properly. We will have a new commissioner joining us in December. He is going to be an alternate. So the board is composed of 7 members who fill certain professional qualifications, and then 2 alternates. We hadn't had an alternate on the commission in a while, so that individual will serve if one of the full members cannot serve. And so because of that nuance, we're going to be asking you to be responsive to our inquiries for quorum polls, because if someone's not going to be able to attend, then we can let the alternate know that he will be attending. And that'll help ensure that we can hold the public hearings when we have members that have conflicts. Next, I did want to go ahead and present the preservation in progress. Our preservation in progresses in the current month and the upcoming months are going to be focused on Ybor City, and we're celebrating Ybor City because in October, Ybor celebrated its 140th anniversary of being established. That's when the land sale between the city of Tampa and Vicente Martinez Ybor occurred in early October of 1885. Next year, we celebrate the 140th anniversary of the first cigar being rolled in Ybor City, which actually didn't occur by one of Vicente Martinez Ybor's factories, but his rival. So it's kind of an interesting story with that involved labor strikes at that particular time. But today we're going to be focusing on one of the properties in Ybor City. If I could go to the PowerPoint. And I'm going to try my best not to disrespect my Latin heritage with my Spanish speaking, but we're talking about Parque Amigos de Jose Marti, which is the Friends of Jose Marti Park. This is a park often referred to as Jose Marti Park, located in the Ybor City Historic District, and there's an interesting story that entails this particular piece of property. Let's see. Doesn't want to advance. Let's try it that way, okay. Jose Marti Park is located in Ybor City on the corner of 8th Avenue and 13th Street. It's just south of the VM Ybor cigar factory complex. And it's a small parcel, less than a quarter acre, that's situated on the southwest corner. I'm sorry, southeast corner. Jose Marti was a Cuban patriot and is remembered as a symbol of Cuba's struggle for independence from Spain. He was the son of Spanish colonists, and he was born in Havana, Cuba in 1853. Marti became interested in both writing and politics at a young age. In 1868, it marked the start of the Cuban 10 Years' War against Spain. And at that age, he was 16 and began to publish a newspaper called La Patria Libre, supporting Cuban independence. Marti graduated from the University of Zaragoza in Spain and then spent some time traveling in Europe, eventually settling in Mexico in 1875, where he worked as a journalist, professor, and dramatist. When the Mexican government was overthrown in 1876, he moved to Guatemala. His political troubles in Guatemala led him back to Cuba, and soon he was deported again to Spain due to his revolutionary activities. He eventually settled in New York, where he became a leader of New York's Cuban exile community. Marti's political and literary activities was extensive. He wrote about his views for newspapers in Argentina, Venezuela, and Mexico. He also published poetry, began a magazine for children, and emphasized the need for the education of black children. He traveled extensively and spoke before members of Cuban exile groups, particularly in Tampa and Key West, where many of the cigar factories' immigrant workforce was a receptive ear to the subject of Cuban independence. Marti, who's pictured here on the left picture on the stairs of Ybor's factory, which was taken in 1991, was one of his most famous speeches here. He was always surrounded by many supporters in these factories who both believed in his cause and funded it. Marti found Cuban immigrants in Tampa to be very sympathetic, as were Cubans living in Key West at the time. On the park site was situated a small house. You see that here in the photograph to the left. During Marti's visits to Tampa, he stayed with his friends Ruperto and Paulina Pedrosa, whom he had met in Key West. The Pedrosas ran a boarding house in Ybor City. The photograph on the left was taken in the 1930s, and you can see there's house and his proximity to the brick factory across the street. It's notable that the Pedrosas were black Cubans, and the Ruperto is one of the founders of Sociedad La Union Marti Maceo, the Marti Maceo Society, a social and mutual club to aid black Cubans. It's very interesting in Ybor that the Cuban immigrants were originally part of the same Círculo Cubano social club until Jim Crow laws kicked in and the black Cubans had to leave that club and form their own club. Marti held egalitarian views and was known for his opposition to slavery in Cuba until it was eventually abolished in 1886. During an 1893 visit to Tampa, Marti was poisoned, and the Pedrosas insisted on taking him into their home rather than a hospital so that Ruperto could guard Marti's room at night. Marti survived the assassination attempt, but he died only 2 years later in battle against Spanish troops in Cuba at the Battle of Dos Rios. And of course, Paulina Pedrosa is pictured on the right. The Pedrosa's property eventually came to be owned by a group of Cuban immigrants. In the 1950s, they donated it to the Republic of Cuba in consideration for their love and affection for their native country. Following consultation with then Cuban President Batista, a hefty donation was granted by the Cuban government, and many of the features that you see today, the wall, the entry gate, and the statue were commissioned. Although the Pedrosa House was demolished in the 1960s, the statue and the park remain as a tribute to Jose Marti. Also included in the park is a memorial to General Antonio Maceo, who led the Cuban Liberation Army invasion across Cuba in 1896. Mateo won many battles but perished in combat in December of 1896 at Punta Brava. Nearly all the signage in the park is both in English and Spanish. And while the city of Tampa maintains this park under agreement, it's actually owned by the government of Cuba today. Recently, Jose Marti Park was featured during a tour that the staff led of the International City County Management Association at its annual conference held in Tampa. They were present, as well as, of course, some chickens and roosters that are all in Ybor City. Jose Marti and the park named for him are also featured in this month's brick and mortar newsletter, which you have in your packets and is also available on our website. So it's a really interesting piece of history, and I think very unique to really all property in the country, right here, kind of nestled in the Ybor City Historic District.
Thank you, Dennis.
Sure. With that, we'll move on to conflicts of interest and disclosure of ex parte communication, and I'll ask our legal counsel to lead that discussion.
Thank you. Dana Crosby Collier from the City Attorney's Office. Good evening. I would like to ask if any member of the commission has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening.
I do not.
I do not.
Okay.
I have one of the cases is, they're a neighbor of mine, but I don't have any conflict.
Okay, yeah, no special gain or loss to you. Okay, and has any member engaged with, in any ex parte communication with regard to any item on the agenda?
I have not.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do not have any continuations to act upon, but I did want to call to your attention that ARC 25-0000-339 has been withdrawn at the agent's request, in case anybody was following that particular case. And with that, we are ready for the swearing. I'll ask anyone in the audience who's going to be presenting or giving public testimony this evening to please stand for the swearing, including staff.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony being provided today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. And with that, we're ready for our first case, and Ron will introduce the case.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ron Vila. I am a planner with Historic Preservation. Our first agenda item this evening is ARC-25-0000-240. This is for the address of 825 Bayshore Boulevard. This is in the Hyde Park Historic District. The primary structure dates back to 1922, and it is contributing. There is one other structure on the site. It's also a contributing. It's a detached garage. The underlying zoning attached to this parcel is RS60. There is no footprint change requested, and the request is for a certificate of appropriateness for a modification to the contributing structure and design details with site improvements. Under past actions on page 3, you saw this in August 2025. There were some approvals attached to that public hearing. One of the approvals was a variance, a south side yard setback from 7 foot to 1 foot with 0 feet for encroachment for eaves and gutters, and that the structure could be elevated from sea level to 18.25 feet. The project is coming forward for a certificate of appropriateness for final approval. To share some photos with you. This is Sanborn map. In red shows the area of the local Hyde Park Historic District. The property is on the front line on Bayshore Boulevard, which is at 825 Bayshore. And I want to zoom in. I think it's very important as the agent goes through the request, the Sanborn map provides us with a lot of information. As you zoom in, the property in question, which is here in the green, it is in yellow. Yellow is frame construction. And usually if there's a cladding on that structure, it's indicated as well. If you look at these over here, this is frame construction that the center is in yellow, and then it's cladded in red, which is brick construction. So that's a frame building with brick. This one here is frame, and then it has no cladding other than wood. So as the agent goes through the exercise, and they're going to talk about, some modifications to the structure as it exists today, he's going to go through that and provide you with some additional detail. This is just an aerial showing the property in question. There is an alley to the rear or a street called O'Brien, and then it faces Bayshore Boulevard. This is looking at the street. There are some site improvements coming forward as well. So you have the main driveway that I'll show coming down the north side of the property. They're going to engage a circular drive with a retaining wall. You see the structure behind it. This is looking at the south elevation and the primary facade. To the left, which is the south, is new construction. This is a non-contributing structure. Going back to the primary structure, there has been some exploratory work in the area. You see some Craftsman influences on the window, and just the vernacular of the building is an American Foursquare as it moves forward, and that'll be important in the discussion as it moves forward. Looking at the drive out from Bayshore, it's a traditional ribbon drive in concrete. The property to the north is a period contributing structure as well. Looking down the drive aisle, there's going to be some work to the apron and probably the sidewalk. And then as you get into private property, it'll be discussed this evening. Moving to the rear of the property. Once again, you see some exploratory work that's been done here to provide you with some guidance moving forward. Here's an additional picture of the rear. This is the detached contributing accessory structure that I spoke about. This is some shots of the alley, just so you get an understanding of the complete parcel. Focusing on Bayshore Boulevard, so looking back into downtown, and then leaving the subject site, and then just to focus back on the house as there now. That concludes the photo presentation. I do have these available. These might become important as we go through the discussion, and we could reference them at any time. At this time, I'll have the agent come and address the board.
Good evening, Alex Engelman, 825 Bayshore, the owner.
Adrian Timmel, 825 Bayshore owner.
It's good to see all of you again. We were here a few months ago, and since that time, we've tried to work hard to address your prior comments and concerns. Of course, our desire here is to preserve our home, protect it from floodwaters, and create a safe space for our family. And so in doing so, we've engaged with Soul Design, a historic architecture firm, to help us in that regard. Fitting that we featured Ybor City earlier, out of which they're based. And so we've worked hard to blend their guidance with the LIFT team from JAS, from whom you previously heard, and we'll try to keep it under our 3-hour experience from August. So I'll be brief, but we just would respectfully ask that with tonight's meeting, we get approval for the certificate of appropriateness, and we will continue to work with the City of Tampa staff on any conditions you may have going forward.
I would just add that I hope that in this presentation, which I think Soul Design has done an amazing job with, and we always appreciate Ron's guidance through the process. It's been very iterative, as you know. When you saw us in August, we have been working on this since January, so now we're, many months down the line. But we really wanted to thank you for the elevation and also I hope that you see that we took all of your comments to heart and we tried to address all your concerns that you raised last time. Thank you.
Good evening. All right. Good evening. As you know, as indicated, they have engaged us. Carlos Mueller, principal of Soul Design Studio. Tonight, we with Hannah and Jennifer, members of the office, will be going through this presentation and kind of, hopefully, again, as answering questions that you had from last time and going through the presentation thoroughly as a design process. So, we're happy we could actually assist the owners with this project, and we understand the fact that this project is beginning to set a precedent in this neighborhood. We also hope that this will help future owners of historic buildings provide a precedent to say that they could restore their homes, restore a historic structure, and not make it look like it is just a raised structure, and that was our goals from the beginning with the clients. We understand the challenges also of this board. There we go, up and down. So that's why you have younger people to help us with the technology side. So we began the project with really meeting with the client. We actually were, I should say, happy enough to attend the last meeting. As you know, we presented afterwards, so we were able to kind of hear and be part of the meeting. We met with the clients, find out what their goals were. What were their main goals for the project? We then immediately met with Ron and his team with staff and wanted to find out what their goals for the project, so we understood both the city's goals as well as the client's goals and try to bring them together. At that time, we also confirmed that this is the Foursquare style, indicated that it does have craftsman elements to the facade, and that was kind of our point of trying to bring that vernacular back to this home while still raising the house. Interestingly enough, when we started continuing to do research in the Hyde Park Design Guidelines, there is no architectural style for Foursquare. It is indicated within the, it has a vernacular style in it. The craftsman is well documented within this, but we did start looking into specifically what were some of those interesting elements as we began to research it. So, precedent, Foursquare craftsman bungalows. We went to, as you know, this is the historic guideline map. We started looking in the neighborhood for some examples. And we went through and we want to point out some precedents of the Foursquare style, which I wasn't as familiar with as some of the more traditional styles. Square balanced form. The hallmark of the style is almost a nearly perfect cube or a square footprint, usually 2 to 2.5 stories high. One of the best ones we found within the historic district was really the 912 Oregon, South Oregon Avenue, which really does pick up a lot of the stylings of. The facades are usually symmetrical, often organized, again, in a 4-room per floor plan style, ergo the name. Next is low-pitched roofs, hipped roof with a central dormer. I have my mouse here. Again, our existing home has that. It has the centralized dormer. Again, all perfectly symmetrical home. There's some other examples of, again, some Foursquare with some craftsman influences at 824, and then a little more craftsman with 853, still some elements of the Foursquare, but again, starting to drift over to the craftsman. We found that that language does tend to blend a little bit between the styles. Next is a full width front porch. That was pretty traditional. Again, Oregon does it very well. Orleans begins to extend a little bit further, but our existing home does meet that the porch is the width of the facade. That was a predominant element. Simple, honest materials, commonly wood siding, brick, stucco, combinations of that. Wide trim boards, sturdy front porch posts, because that's something we're going to hit on. Lastly is a central entry and the vehicular circulation. Again, the Oregon has it. The current home, 825 has it. Some of the others begin to off-center the front door, but still have a lot of the rudimentary elements. So with that, after doing some research, we continued down the path. We looked at the Hyde Park Design Guidelines. Just very quickly, we do feel as though we met all the scale and the massing. We're raising an existing home, so we worked to keep the massing and scale proportionate. We do have another diagram where we looked at all the houses on the street that you saw last time to analyze its height and its overall height and massing, so we'll look at that later. Setback, We are putting the house right where it is right now, so there's no change in the setback. And just to note, again, Ron mentioned it, we did get approved for the existing home that does set into the setback, so that is, we're not changing that. We are asking for no additional encroachments tonight, it is going straight up. Orientation is not changing, the alignment is staying consistent with what's there. Facade proportions, that's actually one of our goals, is to make it similar to what's there, and we're gonna go through some of the massing that we've done to try to keep it more consistent with the facade that's there. Trim and details, again, keeping with the same trim and details. Entrance is not changing. The roof form's no change, and maintain the quality of the district is our goal. Next is, in looking at the rehabilitation, we're gonna be talking about the front porch specifically and some of the materials that were presented last time. Within the, and I believe this is page, I had it here, 78 of the rehabilitation guidelines. It indicates, I'm gonna get closer here, if adequate documentary and physical evidence exists, the feature may be accurately reproduced. So we're gonna go through some investigation that we did. One of the first meetings that Mr. Avila and I went to the site, and you saw that we started tearing out some additional materials as we started doing some investigation. One of the first things we went to is, as traditional with the perimeter of the home, it usually had a brick base, a die wall, or some kind of structure that began to pick it up. Currently, it was all surrounded in stucco. So we started just taking a hammer, and that's actually us. And this is the brick that we found at the base. We opened up several locations within the perimeter of the home and found, with Mr. Vila there, we found this was present, and also this became, this became one of the elements that we started to work with our color palette and our material palette. And you can see images of where we found different elements. The second one is starting to dig into the facade a little further. As you saw with some of the precedent, typical with these was that brick perimeter, some brick piers that came up, then wooden elements or posts or columns that would begin to support the beam structure. We dug into the beam and we dug into the wall on the backside and started to get into there, and what we found was newer wood. The entire porch structure appears, and again, we saw that from digging the inside, we call it the stamping on the wood, it all appeared to be newer, pressure-treated wood. It wasn't historic. We started digging as far down as we could, and it appears as though there was a pier structure buried underneath the home, and it was just these walls were built with newer, pressure-treated lumber and some older lumber. It seems to have been patched along at different points in its, excuse me, of its history, and these were built just to kind of clad the house, and what we believe is what was there was similar to what you saw, which is more of a pier with a wooden column structure above it holding the beam. The beam is there. It appears to be original. There's some markings of structures where it was either nailed or things like that when we dug on the inside to start to see how it was fastened together. So we did investigate that entire front facade. Some more images of what we began to look around the house. As you can see, we removed some panels in some of the older Stego vapor barriers around the perimeter, just verifying some areas. One thing of note, and you can tell that pretty evidently from the picture, the chimney structure does not, the brick does not match the historic. They were two completely different colors. We had thought that maybe it was going to be the same if we found it. It was interesting to find out they did not. Just to reiterate, this is our property. We are on Bayshore. One of the things that we are going to discuss, and this is the survey, is our flood zone. Our flood zone is AE. We've had different presentations that we've been to specific to this. As you know, we were approved to go to 18.25 feet. We're actually proposing to come in a little bit lower than that. What we'd like to do is our DFE is 12. There's a 1 foot freeboard or 13. We're proposing that we come in 1 foot above that to prevent some additional security and safety for the client. So what we're proposing tonight, and you'll see in section, is not using the number that you did kindly approve, is actually going lower than that. We want the bottom of structure to be at 14, and we're estimating about a 12-foot structure, or sorry, 2-foot structure in between, going to 16 foot on finished floor. And we will be showing you those in section. So we're actually coming in under the elevation that you approved last time. Some other things of note, there are some trees as indicated. We will not be changing the footprint. We are simply going straight up as close as we can to the walls that were there. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the drive. As Ron indicated, we're going to be requesting a circular drive, a U-shaped drive on the front. This is the location. We have looked at it and pulled some data as early as City of Tampa, spring of 2024. As is typical with most residential streets, it is recommended and must be less than 1,500 vehicles per day on a street that you would normally back out into and access. As of this date, the average is somewhere around 5,116 vehicles per day on this street. I know that this specific committee has seen this a few times, even by us. We have pulled again some of the data as indicated, and probably makes sense. It's the morning traffic, it's lunch, and it's the evening traffic getting home that you have the peaks in vehicles per day. This is the view. This again is right at the bend as you begin to turn Bayshore and begin to head, that would be west. So we are again influenced by that initial curve where you do not see the cars coming until they make that first turn and they begin to accelerate coming towards our house. As it sits right now, the only option that the clients have is to back into this street. So that is a very challenging backing out process, not obviously the safest. We're going to propose an alternate method, and we'll get into that shortly. So we have a view looking north, and then we have another view looking south. This is a diagram that we presented to you before that begins to look at the elevation. This has been updated now to the elevation that we are proposing. What you see on the top is the maximum height allowed. Our proposed height with this new design, we've brought it down to 28 foot 8 inches, and we've drawn a line across in blue to show you how it responds to the massing of the neighborhood. The upper diagram, this is our home here, 825, and you're looking at houses moving south. On the lower drawing, this is our residence here, 825, and this one you're looking at homes going north. You'll see that even with the fact that we're raising this home with some of the homes that have it, we still fit within the height, similar heights as some of the other existing homes within the site. I'm going to briefly go over the site plan, then I'm actually going to ask my civil engineer to come up here to join me and go through some of the civil plans. So we're going to start with just the key elements here, which is, this is the U-shaped drive that we're proposing. So it will involve leaving the existing curb cut on the north side of the property. We're going to restore the ribbon drives on either side up to the front gate as they were pretty much as it is now. We will be infilling it with pavers. We'll present those to you tonight with some options. We will be also restoring the sidewalk with the historic 3x3 squares and then imposing a similar scoring pattern to tie in the curb cut or the cuts into the main Bayshore at the north and then again at the south. We will be also talking to you a little bit about a wall structure that begins to make up the existing grade difference between our drive and the sidewalk. So we have some details to look at that with you today. And again, to reiterate, the intent for this drive is one, safety for the clients to pull out. Secondarily, this is for Amazon, this is for Uber Eats, for deliveries to the home that can be pulled off of Bayshore, not parked in front with their blinkers on, but come into a place that's safe, drop it off, and continue to exit. One of the things you're also going to notice is we have incorporated into the design, and our civil engineer, Mr. Hendry, will present this, is we're incorporating an area underneath the home for one of the vehicles to pull off the street and to get under the existing home. And that's beyond the gate, with the intent for both of the cars to really kind of be stored on that back aspect. So with that, I'll ask Mr. Hendry to come up here and continue to present the civil.
Good evening. I'm Eric Hendry with Hendry Associates. I was brought onto the team to do the site elements for this project. One thing that I did for analysis was to review the site elements as far as impervious site. The total site is 9,545 square feet. 50% of it is 4,774. As I calculated right now, we're right close to 50%. If there's going to be any other elements, we'll handle the on-site retention if for the half-inch of rainfall for the entire site if we exceed that. But at the moment, we're underneath it, and we don't need to provide that. As you can see in yellow, we have the trees that we're going to save. We did review what was out there existing. We're placing back another structure in the same location without impacting the root systems. We are removing a few trees that are really close to the structure. We've got them marked up in X's up there. There are only 4 of them that's on there. As you know, that the site plan is located in a FEMA flood zone, AE elevation 12. It is in the limit of moderate wave action, so that we will have to do some breakaway walls through the whole thing there. It does have a lower floor for the garage parking that goes in. I know you approved going to 1825, but some of the elements that we did for the site, we did bring it down so that it at least could be lowered some. All the HVAC systems will be up at floor level, meeting the flood requirements that's for those elements. Let's see what else. There you go, gotcha, down. Here's some of the elements that we did to raise the site, just to bring it up a little bit, to give it some relief from the elevation that was approved before. We have a little knee wall out front by the main sidewalk that's consistent with the most of Bay Shore there. 3 steps going up, and then it goes into the driveway up that circular portion of that in front of the facility. By doing that, it allows the staircase to be lowered some so that we don't have to extend the staircase further out. Next would be the maneuvering plan. I applied a passenger car coming in to show it can turn into the parking space under the structure. The stacking of other cars will be forward and another one behind it. On this one here, since the site was in a floodplain, the consideration has to do is whether we're going to increase the volume of to displace from the flood or decrease it. First, I'd analyzed it with the existing structure to come up with a volume. I removed the volume and came up with a capacity or a volume of displacement. And then we applied the new elements, including the driveway and any little extra grading that we have. And when we analyzed it, we came up with 1,219.28 cubic feet of export. So that is a net cut, and we're not displacing any more floodplain. And no new soil will be brought onto the site. And that concludes my.
Thank you. I'm going to just quickly go through some of the floor plans here with you. These are existing floor plans. This is the front porch that we will be removing and creating new. There's also an interior stair with a door on the north side. That door is removed because we won't be able to get to it at this point. But we will be showing you a plan that we have for to replace that stair with a new stair on the interior that goes vertical. Second floor, no real work. We have identified the variance area that you've already approved. This is the first floor. All walls that you see here hatched between the columns will be breakaway walls with flood vents. The only wall that will not is the one around this here. This is where that existing stair is. We will be lowering it and putting on a flood-proof door. These will be concrete stairs that will provide that historic access on the inside, because before you just went up a couple stairs and you entered, so obviously that's not possible now. So we're really replacing that access with this internal, and we will have structural, and they have designed it to meet the appropriate water loads to meet that requirement. The rest is a rear porch on that back side. We have a stair access just for quick access to the back area. And then one of the keys that was mentioned is the goal was, and part of the items for lowering the home, was to get those stairs, if you recall from the previous design, they actually turned and went backwards. You had to kind of L shape around. We worked very hard to both lower the structure and work the site so we could get all of the stairs to fit within that historic facade. That was very important. That also brought the scale of that raising down so it wasn't so massive on that front. That was one of probably the first tasks we took of working those elevation grades. And Hannah's going to go through some of these in section with you. Again, you can see those stairs where they start within the footprint of the site. They go up, head a landing, and then finish at the porch. And then again, you can see the access at the second floor with the stairs, and then the new raised deck in the back with a circular stair. Again, nothing on the floor above, really just a roof structure. We are putting a new roof that will present. And here's the new 5V metal crimp that will present. With that, I'm going to turn over to Hannah for some renderings.
Hi, I'm Hannah with Soul Design. As Carlos mentioned, here's our first rendering of that facade facing Bay Shore. As you can see, As you can see, our stairs are within that facade, so they come up to a center point and go back to that entrance, so you kind of create that central entry that's very important with Foursquare and Craftsman style homes. As you can see, we have our stucco base and brick columns that come up, and then it tapers up to the second floor porch entry patio. And I'll just keep going and I'll go into more detail as we go through the facades. So next we have our east facade. Again, as I mentioned, this is the entrance facing Bayshore. I have our proposed at the top and existing at the top and proposed on the bottom. You can see how we have lifted and removed that stucco columns and now have replaced it with brick and stucco base. So we're basically lifting that base up and continuing that throughout the entire facades. And then our proposed height is 28'8" from the DFE, and our maximum is 35 feet. You can see our trim wraps around the entire facade. That separates the new from the old. We have breakaway walls in front of the stairs and beyond the stairs. That was a question that we had from a previous presentation. So everything is breakaway. Our stairs are open tread going to the north facade. So this is coming north as you come down Bayshore. We have removed this existing door since now it can't be usable since we're lifting it up to the second floor, and we've replaced it for a window. It's a custom window that will have hurricane screening for the window treatment. The existing chimney has remained the same, and we are replacing it with stucco at the bottom base here. As you can see, we have the opening for the car garage, so you'll come into this drive and you can be able to turn and park your car here, and then when you come back you can also park a car here or use that as a turning back out to Bayshore. Our south facade, currently on the existing plan we have our mechanical units here below this window, and we have raised it above the design flood elevation. We've also added the stucco walls here, and then we've added a brick column with fencing to kind of create that privacy. And everything beyond that fencing, we have open louvers, which will be aluminum, and a knee wall that will be a stucco breakaway base. So that kind of provides light that can come into the building. And then, as I mentioned earlier, all of the walls will be breakaway, and we also have flood vents around the entire building. West elevation, this is the back elevation facing O'Brien. We do not have access to O'Brien, so that's why the driveway is important in the front. We have added an aluminum staircase here that comes up to the new proposed deck. Kind of going into sections, you can see our front entry here that goes up the 3 steps. We have our breakaway wall and our stairs in here. Between those 2 breakaway walls, we do have an opening that comes underneath the stair for maintenance purposes. You can see our new deck comes up, and then this existing house is not in our scope, but you can see the different column variations, and I can go into more detail in the sections. So this is our main entry section. You can see the 3 steps that come up, our sloping brick pavers, the 2 breakaway walls on either side of the staircase that come up to the decking, our column that I mentioned earlier, that is a it's concrete column wrapped in brick, and then it tapers up and it's wrapped in wood. It comes up here. This front porch will have tongue and groove wood ceilings, and we have added new gutters around the entire roof structure as we replace the roof. Right now it is shingles, and we will be replacing it with metal, 5V metal crimp. As I mentioned, there's different column variations, so I have a section of the brick wrapped columns and then a section of the wood columns in the back. And then I also have a section here of the breakaway wall with a flood vent, partial height wall, and our aluminum louvers that go up. Our existing structure is wood, so everything below will be concrete. Then we have our steel new beams that will lift up the structure, and then our existing wood framed flooring and walls. Next we have our detail. As I mentioned earlier during the elevations, we do have a trim detail that separates the existing from the new structure. We have brick below, so it bumps out farther than the brick. It's about 1 foot of trim bump out, and then we have our wood siding that will replace the metal siding above. Then we just have our flood rated door that we're adding in the garage, our custom window that will have hurricane screen for Florida product approval, and then our existing wood trim, which will be 6 inches around. On the ground floor, the trim wraps all around, and then on the top floor, and I can show you again in the elevations, we have a 6-inch wood trim that wraps around up into the roof, so the window follows, and then it'll be a trim that wraps and separates the roof from the windows. Okay, next we have some breakaway wall details and some foundation details. We have helical piles, and then we have breakaway walls throughout. Going into stair details, again, we have that ground floor stair that we're proposing from the ground floor to the second floor. It will be concrete poured. And then we have our concrete wall all the way around the staircase, and then our flood rated door. And then we have our spiral staircase that comes up in the back, going up to the wood deck that we have. Okay, another detail of the front entry stairs that we have. This will be concrete poured stringer with open treads. And then we go into building finishes. So we have 3 different color paints. That'll be our general paint, our trim paint, and then our door paint. We have next our brick columns, which matches the existing brick we found on site.
Obviously, it's difficult to find a 100-year-old brick. We did the best we could to try to bring something into the palette. We're happy to pass this around if it's something you want to see, the original versus the new proposed. But that was something we spent some time again with the clients, finding something as close as we could within a similar palette to blend.
Yes, and then we also have our brick pavers, which we are replacing just the dirt here. So we have our concrete ribbon, and then we're going to have brick in between, and then that U-drive is going to have a hex pattern brick that'll continue around. Then we have in the front porch ceiling, we have wood tongue and groove. We're proposing the new metal V crimp roof. And then what Jennifer's holding up is also the wood siding that we painted. And then we will be replacing, since we're replacing the roof material, we will be replacing the soffit of the roof, which will be beadboard. Next, we have some detail items, the aluminum louvers, our flat top iron fence and gate to match, our custom historical railing. Existing remain is the fan, the light, the sconces, and the down lights, and then we are replacing the hydro door, flood vent door. And then just going through the renderings real quick.
We're getting tight on time,
I
so we're going to go
know,
through, but we
sorry.
can answer any
Okay.
questions you have. So, again, we wanted to thank you for your time. We have tried to present in 30 minutes with 54 seconds left, as much as we possibly can. We have more information to answer your questions. We appreciate your time in this. We've hopefully compiled something that we would ask for final approval on a certificate of appropriateness, so we can get this family, their children, back in their home so they can, again, start to use this beautiful property. And again, our goal was also to help you, the city of Tampa, to provide a design that hopefully could be used with future homes similar to this. So thank you for your time. We're here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Commissioners, good evening. Ron Veal, I'm a planner with Historic Preservation. You just saw a very thorough and complete presentation. Moving forward, there were some letters submitted into the record. They're part of the packet that we presented to you this evening. This application is consistent with the Hyde Park Design Guidelines and the Secretary of Interior Standards for the flood adaptation and rehabilitation of historic structures. I'm gonna put this image up here. I didn't want to elaborate before the presentation, but as Carlos indicated, I met him out there and his staff numerous times. They brought hammers, they brought crowbars, and they took some of the fabric that's there now apart to show what's under there. There is nothing under that inappropriate siding. The foundation that is there had a skim coat of stucco. He showed you some of the brick that was under there. So in peeling this back, he's trying to illustrate to you that none of the historic fabric is left behind. when you go through the Secretary of Interior standards, number 6 on your staff report refers to if the replacement of missing features are needed, then you go through the physical evidence that they provided, in combination with McAllister's Field Guide as a publication that we use. So we define this structure as an American Foursquare with Craftsman influences. When you look at the windows there, you see the Craftsman influences, and you see the columns that are there as well. Just briefly, I wanted to go to a section here of the American Foursquare. That shows the most common vernacular form. And if you look at the front porch, if you look at the columns and the piers that are on the front porch, if you see the placement of the windows, you see the overall vernacular of the structure itself, when the incorporation of the dormer is very similar to what they have here now. So that's what we used as a reference as I guided him along the way in conversation with the owners and his staff. Moving to the conditions, this was an addition, and the request stated that it was a modification to the contributing structure and design details. So the design details is what they're incorporating into the structure now. I don't think it was expressed thoroughly, but they're putting lap siding back on the body of the house. They're bringing in the piers to match with the brick that was found there, and some columns to match what McAllister's reference was providing us. So the modification to the contributing structure, the design details are very important. You should be thorough and comfortable moving forward with the site elements. They talked about the little buffer wall in the front. I don't think it was expressed. He was running out of time, but they do have details on that. The horizontal portion of the approach, they show the materials there, the sidewalk that's sensitive to the pattern in the district, and then the access off of Bay Shore that's very challenging. Some of the conditions here was the retaining wall. I think additional details are needed to go through the sections. They went through the sections very quickly, but they have the information there. And I believe all the other items were expressed in the presentation. Along with the field guide, they did show some references for the Foursquare and the Craftsman-style homes within the district. So I wanted them to express the compatibility of where they're taking this structure to some of the structures that are in Hyde Park now. That concludes my portion, and I'll be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Is there anyone in the public that's here to speak for or against this project?
My name is Michael Sork. I own the property at 825 and a half Bay Shore, the house to the south. I'm not technically astute to know what kind of drainage that they're providing between my house and their house as far as the site plan and elevations. So my only concern is to make sure that I don't end up with a lake between my house and their house.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience here to speak for or against? Okay, not seeing any, we'll go ahead and start with questions from the commissioners. On my right.
On your site plan, do you guys have a topo on the existing and proposed for the site plan? Because
Yes.
it looks like you guys are raising the site. It appears that you guys are raising the site. The pictures that we have currently show that the house is maybe a foot higher than the sidewalk on Bay Shore, but
So we do have a site survey.
does it have elevations on it?
Yes. Let's get to it here. Keep going. And right there. Actually, exit out so we can zoom in. So what we utilize, and I get Eric here, is some of the grades 3.32 was one of the numbers that we used at the sidewalk. You're referring kind of the sidewalk to the site kind of elevation?
Yeah, my concern is currently the elevation is 3.32 at the concrete sidewalk, but you're
Correct.
looking that you're gonna raise that up. And how does that affect your neighbors?
We're not gonna raise the sidewalk. We're gonna keep the sidewalk as
Right.
is existing. We're only gonna raise, so right now, the house goes from 3.32 right here.
Yeah.
And then you can see upwards of the home in front of the porch, it's 4.87. In terms of the drive, that's very consistent with the elevations that we're keeping for that drive. And we did do a blow up here. So you can see some of the numbers. So that 3.32 that you see right here, and then at the top, it's a 4.5. So it's a very similar grade in terms of once you go up those stairs from what's at the sidewalk to what's at the grade in terms of we then continue to slope the site towards the building, and then we access the site. Just move over a little bit. Right here, and that's where the stairs begin at 5.25.
Then what is the purpose of the retaining wall in the front then? If
So
you're
right
not-
now, it just basically slopes. The goal
Right.
is to create that retaining wall that goes 3 steps, as in the picture we showed you in the presentation is our neighbor 2 houses over.
Right.
Is to just make that transition, and then the site continues to slope at a much shallower slope as it continues, but it's very consistent. That's why we actually did the cut fill plan for your edification, to show that we're not bringing any soil onto the site. It acts as a buffer between the sidewalk and our site.
Okay, all right. In our original presentation, when you guys asked for your setback variances, did the front of the house need a variance for existing?
No.
So it appears that you have extended the front of the house out further than it is currently with the steps. This current steps, there's 2.5 steps that come off the front of the house.
Correct.
And now you're going to 4 feet.
Correct.
So that's 2.5 feet, so you're adding 1.5 feet to the front, plus so go ahead.
No, you're right.
Yep.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Yep, so are we still within the front setbacks for zoning?
Yes, I believe we're still within the front
Okay.
setbacks from the property.
Okay, I didn't see any setback lines on the,
No, we are not requesting additional variances tonight.
okay,
In the blue,
okay,
you
there,
can see the
okay, thank you.
setback lines.
Yeah,
Thank you,
there we go.
appreciate it,
Thank
thank you,
you.
that's what I was looking for, I'm sorry.
Yep, there we go.
In one of the pictures, there's a fire hydrant. Where's that fire hydrant located on your site plan? Does it interfere with the driveway? Is it close to the driveway?
It's in between there. I don't think I've ever done that one, but the existing survey,
It's dead center of the site, yeah.
yeah,
Is it, okay, so it doesn't interfere with your proposed driveway? Okay.
we took that into consideration.
That's good, thank you. So why not load the driveway from the rear? Someone in one of the presentations said you didn't have access to the alleyway, but you do have access to the alleyway. Is there a reason that you're not loading vehicles from the alleyway, from O'Brien?
There's a contributing structure there, a detached contributing structure that we're not addressing tonight. The goal was to keep the drive as consistent as was possible from the front.
Mr. Vila, is the rear structure a contributing structure?
The rear structure is contributing.
Okay.
And transportation has some requirements when you come off of that street/alley O'Brien. There's a dimensional requirement that I don't believe they currently meet, so they cannot load from the back for safety reasons.
Okay, thank you. You're mentioning flood vents, and do we have a picture of the flood vents? I'm sorry, I didn't see that in your, I'm sure you showed it, and.
We have them on the elevations. You want to see them on the elevations
No,
or
I'd
a
like
picture of the?
I'd like to see the picture of the actual flood vent itself.
That is one that we did not bring tonight, and we usually do too. We can present that to staff. It is your traditional flood vent.
Okay.
It'll be just painted the color of the structure.
Okay.
So the intent is for it to blend away.
Okay.
You can see them there. The goal is just to make them blend away. And we are doing some low shrubbing and some landscape around them as well.
Okay. Is the horizontal band that I'm seeing there is separating the old from the new?
That's correct.
In the one of the details, is that wood or is that stucco?
So we brought you that detail specifically because that was an important element in working with staff that really delineate historic above, kind of new below. We wanted to show you a section right here. So you can see this is that steel beam that the actual structure is being built on. This is a bump out, a 1 foot wide, it's called a trim band, that would be the datum line around the entire structure so that it's very visible, historic above, new below.
So,
And we
but-
wanted to show that to you so you could see that that really does encapsulate that steel beam there.
And then
So it's a
it-
true line,
So it's made out of wood.
yes.
Okay. You're not planning on changing the windows? Or you're,
Not in scope. The only one is the door that we've had to address
right.
because we can't have the door there.
okay, that's all the questions I have, Ron.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think I have any questions at this time. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. I guess I want to address the neighbor comment, which is the neighbor to your south, and how because when you went through all that grading, to my fellow commissioners' questions, you stayed Bay Shore and north, but didn't discuss the grading or any changes to the south that would impact his property. Can you address that, please?
When we went through the grading analysis, basically the whole site flows from the O'Brien alleyway forward to Bay Shore. We made the site consistent with existing elevations without any grade changes between the 2 yards. We could add a little element to dish out a little swale between the properties to keep continuing to flow, or at least keep the water from entering the neighbor yard.
And you'd be willing to do that, in the design, is to create some sort of
Yes.
swale to ensure, not that it's not, I guess his concern is that it doesn't gather there.
Correct.
Is that it continues to move.
It continues to move, right.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
And we are spending funds on the entire site, grading the site, as you know, from break. So we will ensure, but we're happy to put it as a condition to make sure that you see the details appropriate to moving that water to prevent, for the neighbor's yard.
Okay. Now to a couple of the other, I guess, my major concerns. Changing the roof material. Why? And under what evidence do you have to do that?
One of the materials within the historic district to bring some resilience, because this project is not just about restoration, but it's also about resilience. The 5E metal crimp is a very strong roof when it comes to this. The owners are going through a lot of effort to harden this home while still meeting the historic guidelines. That is a stronger roof when it comes in terms of the facade and the winds towards that facade. So that was one of the intents of hardening.
But there's no historic precedent
There's no,
To
for this, you mean
change
to this
to
home?
this house.
Right, for this house. We
Correct.
found no evidence either way in terms of what was originally there. The owners did look for some historic photos. It was difficult to find what was there previously, and I don't believe any of the Sanborn maps provide any data on the roof.
Right.
And this was something that within the historic district that has been an approvable material.
Okay, I'm asking questions.
Yes, sir?
The same will go, the same question applies really. Obviously, you don't have historic photos. So you don't know if there was any brick exposed. The brick could have been covered in stucco historically. I saw photos of brick fragments and brick shards. But is there any evidence that they were exposed to the public?
When we pulled up some pieces, typically if you were to put metal lath on it, you would have seen a significant amount of pitting or nails being driven in, or even if they had put up that stucco, it came off very clean, and I'm happy to provide this.
Right.
There was no evidence they would have needed a lath of some kind, or it was directly applied.
Why?
Where it
Yeah, I
would-
was going to say, why would you put a lath
Well,
on brick?
to give it greater adhesion, because as you may know, that there's a weathering, there's a certain kind of brick, can I pass this out so you can see it? This is a weathered facade that looks like it wasn't having abrasions to it to assist the stucco from being anchored to it. So it has a smooth weathered facade that looks like it would have been the finished material. We didn't find any, when we pulled the stucco off and Ron was there, it kind of fell off. It wasn't kind of adhered to the facade of the brick. It used more of the joints to kind of hold on to that brick.
Okay.
And I can bring up those pictures. So that's what based on what we found with the bricks that were left, we didn't see that kind of anchoring structure or adhesion
Okay.
to it.
In the elevation, My fellow commissioner already asked about the flood vents, so I'll skip over that. In the north elevation of the house, the bottom of the existing chimney has been dealt with in a different manner. Why is it dealt with that way?
In meeting with staff, the discussion was to try to not reproduce the brick with that joint line and the stucco below. The intent was for it to be kind of stucco below as one pallet and then the restoration above. So
Okay.
blending with the rest of the breakaway walls and everything else that we were providing, it seemed that that was a clear joint. We did discuss brick at one time, and it was thought that that might be a cleaner separation and distinction between two materials.
Okay. You mentioned that the front entries, the new front entry stairs have breakaway walls
Yes,
supporting them.
that's correct.
What happens to the stair treads?
There's a concrete stringer, and they're just planks. I can show you in the section if I can here.
I mean, I'm basically asking, obviously, if they're breakaway walls,
Correct.
something.
There'll be what you'll have left are the exposed concrete beams that are holding up, that are poured
Okay.
into the stairs on
Okay.
either side. So
Okay.
you would see a skeleton, for
So the
lack of a better
stringers
term.
and the stringers and the treads stay.
Correct, and the walls would
Okay.
go away, and you'd see just a skeleton
Okay.
of the stairs.
You're talking about changing the siding. Did we discuss exactly like the exposure, the size, what type of siding you're talking about putting back?
We are proposing a wood siding. This is a Luna wood trim board, a 1x6 trim board that would be painted, the color. This is something that we, again, worked with staff in terms of a true wood siding. This is more of a pressure-treated product that's been hardened to meet the weathering, but this is a 1x6 wooden trim that would be painted around the historic portion of the building.
Okay, and I guess then, you mentioned something about finding, when you took apart one of the porch columns.
Yes.
That you found some sort of evidence that,
The pier.
please,
the pier, right? Yeah.
expound what sort of evidence was found? Because I didn't see any photographic evidence in the presentation that you're showing us to convince us that there was something else there originally. And it would help if it could be further exposed and
Sure.
shown to staff, even if that has
Sure.
to be.
Can you see the images here? Okay, there we go. So this is us on the inside of the porch looking down. So to your left, these boards here, this is the outside facade that you're seeing from Bayshore.
Yep.
And we went down in there to try to investigate, and that's when we saw that some of the newer woods that were down here, it is hard to see, so I apologize, and we can try to get more pictures if that's possible to staff. But when we went there, it appears though this wall with some of the newer wood was built as a frame wall in the front, and that they removed the piers. When we, to the best of our ability, kind of got our hands in there and tried to tear as many boards as we could. There was a perimeter stringer here that was fastened down to the concrete foundation in terms of those piers that they would have buried. So that's where we kind of, it led to the fact that this was not the older wood, the historic wood that would have been matching some of the interior framing members. It appeared to be newer wood that we found.
Okay. And that proves what? That proves that you can put a Craftsman column?
The intent
Back?
was that if that was not original to the home, the intent was that those four walls that were
But
in
you
the
don't
same
have any
places-
evidence of what
We
was?
could not find any picture evidence, no.
Okay.
And what we.
That's what I was trying to figure out,
Yes.
is if there's any evidence that you exposed that convinced you that those tapered Craftsman columns were the right thing to do, or it's just a stylistic thing that you were doing.
Correct. So we found out that what was there was not original. And we would just, again, try to find out, was there something original? To your point, we found nothing saying either way.
Okay.
We then went back to the vernacular, what was typical for a 4-square home, and then in the lack of what was there existing was added to a later date, our proposal is to go back to what was traditional to the style of the home.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay.
I only have a couple questions regarding the air conditioning unit
Yes.
that's raised up, and I
Mhm.
understand why it's raised up.
Mhm.
Does your neighbor have any windows that are gonna be looking onto that air conditioning unit?
I believe there's no windows on that side? Oh, he's gone.
It's a solid.
North face of his house, it has no windows.
And they're in the same place they were before, but to your point, they've just come straight up. So they're in the same facade as before.
Right, okay.
Raising the air conditioners on any windows on the north side of your property?
No. It's just a solid wall. My only concern, I'm sorry.
Oh.
On the south side, it's just a solid wall. My only concern is the drainage is taken care of. As far as the height and the AC units, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Michael Sork. Thank you.
Thank you. So when you're driving on Bay Shore, are you gonna be able to see the air conditioning units at all?
No.
They're set behind.
They're,
that kind
they're,
of-
yes, ma'am, they're back.
Okay, okay.
And we have a bump out of the house, so
Oh.
they're very hidden.
That's what I thought. It bumped out and we'll cover them. Okay. And then, the window that's now taking over the door,
Yes.
so is that window exactly in the same position where their door is?
Yes. It's a little shorter because of the foundation raising and the sill and the concrete beam, because we actually gave you a section through that window. So it's not the same height, but it's the same width, if that makes sense, that the lower area moved up just a little bit, like 8, 12 inches.
Yes, I
Was
believe
there
it's
any
about 5.
thought to just, it doesn't quite look in line with the other
Mhm.
windows. Is there a reason why you couldn't raise it up, or just to make sure it's differentiated, or?
Well, the intent was to try to respect that opening. We, as you saw, we did replace the stair access with the interior to kind of put it back in a FEMA appropriate manner with the door and everything like that. That was kind of the intent. And that becomes like a legacy item, a little, you're right, it is different, but it could also be the fact that, you know, that was the original door when we raised this. That's how we used to get into our house. Because that would have been the door most of the time that the resident would have used, right? Because it's
Right.
coming right off the drive. So it is kind of a homage to the original door, kind of a playful nod to, it used to be, you know, we used to be able to walk up there and now we have to go in here and go up. So that was kind of the intent with the clients, is just to keep it as a legacy item.
Okay, and then one more time about these front columns.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you dug down.
Yes.
You saw brick on the bottom. I'm not an architect, so I'm gonna say it in my language. But we don't know if that brick went up to actually create the piers.
That's correct.
We think that maybe they went up,
That's correct. Yes.
but we're not exactly.
We're not sure. What we
100%
found was all new construction, indicating what's there was not original to the home. If we had found old lumber and things like they had built that originally, then we'd have said, okay, that was original. And the lack of, and one of the, when we went back to the rehabilitation guidelines, that is what would have been there, but to your point, we did not find it there. There was nothing there that was original to the home that we could find.
So could it have been that if there was brick there, it would have matched the chimney? That it was red instead of?
The brick on,
We just don't know.
we
right?
don't know. Now, one thing that we can show you, if I could please go back to that. They knew that this was different. So this band, we didn't hit this band here, but this is a brick band, and this is that colored brick that you saw there.
That
Thank you.
sand
Yeah.
color.
We dug down further down. We kind of picked points around the perimeter. So they very intentionally changed the brick at that time so that there was two colors brick coming together at that joint. We don't know where it began and ended. To your point, there was a lack of information on the front, but we did find it around the perimeter.
So you're saying that bottom board, if you take off that bottom board,
Right here. Right
then
here.
there's that sand color brick?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just like this. That's correct.
Did y'all investigate any other designs for these
For the-
columns after you lifted the house of, other than brick, or it was? we're gonna
That
go
was
with
one of the
brick?
materials that when we found it, that was something that we wanted to bring forward because it was part of the original home. And then when we, again, did some of our historic references within the district, we found that other homes, if I could go back, please, to the image. That was something that we saw that was within the neighborhood. It's within the guidelines of the style as we researched the Foursquare and the Craftsman. So as you can see with some of these, that material at the base would have been that perimeter wall, either with a grill or not, and then that's what became the pier at the front as one of your entry moments into the facade. So it fit within the vernacular of the style.
So, and then the upper part of the column seems pretty ornate. Would it have been that ornate, given this style of house? Or would it have been plainer, like, 912 Oregon, even though that's a huge house, or 853? They don't quite have as much detailing, it doesn't look like?
There's trim, so yeah, this one that has that picture frame
Oh, okay.
detail around the perimeter. I'm gonna zoom
Oh,
in
I
here
see
just
it
a little
now,
bit.
yep.
Yes, ma'am. So this one actually has more ornate, this one's a little more craftsman than what we have. You can see that they have the picture framing around the trim column. But then they have some more some knee braces incorporated, some, trim work details on the facading. So we actually have less articulation than some of the other Foursquare homes within the district. But what we presented, we felt it was appropriate with the style of the home, with at least using some of those continuing elements of the style, of the Foursquare style.
Okay, I've got nothing further.
Okay. On that front elevation, was there any consideration given to using lattice instead of the solid walls surrounding the?
Are you referring to this here?
Yeah, and also on the front of the stair.
Here?
Yes, on both sides, the whole thing.
We hadn't. We knew that it had to be breakaway. We did provide some venting on the sides, as Hannah presented, both for some light to come into that lower level, but also some circulation, because if water does get in there, it needs to air out a little bit. This was one that we tried to, again, I think we worked very hard to change the scale. The goal was to bring that first stair down so that it read, and if you kind of notice that the railing almost matches the finished floor, to try to make the lines clean. We spent a lot of effort to kind of create clean lines across so that it didn't feel like this kind of pyramidal, if you know what I mean, like pyramidal with so many facade elements that it looked confusing, or there's so many things on there. So we did try to simplify. That was a goal, I'll be honest with you, from the previous design of simple moments, let your eye go away from the raising of the house and up to the home itself, so that blending away, and we worked hard with the client in terms of colors. Again, our goal is you not look at the base, you look up to the historic home. That was the concept with the selections, the material selections, even kind of the stained ceiling, that your eye is always trying to go up and diminish the importance of the kind of the durability element of raising the house.
Okay, thank you. I don't agree, but that's fine. And now to the contributing structure in the back.
Yes.
It seems to me that by avoiding talking about that because it's not part of this project, it begins to suggest that there is no solution other than the U drive. And I think that there quite possibly is a solution in there. Is there any evidence on that contributing structure that it ever had a door going onto O'Brien Street?
I can't speak to that because that's not something that we looked at, to be honest with you. We never investigated a drive to the rear street, it's not really an alley, to the rear street O'Brien. The goal was always to kind of restore the original ribbon drive along the front and then just provide an access point for them to get off of it.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
If you don't ask the question, then you never
Understood.
get an answer.
I understood.
Thank you.
Carlos, thank you. Very thorough presentation, and at times very quick. Hard to follow.
30 minutes goes fast.
So I'm going to start with the brick question because my fellow commissioner had it right before. Why pick? You have two different color bricks.
Mm-hmm.
Why pick the color that's hidden versus the one that is exposed?
Again, the brick that was there at the foundation was at that time the foundational element. We were trying to use the same foundational element to create the foundation for the new home, was the concept for it. And be true to what we found in the home. When we started this, I had the feeling, and I think I told Ron, I think there's brick down there, but I'm gonna have to go there with a hammer and just start to peel it away. When we found it, We felt that that was kind of an homage back to the original material that raised the house up off the ground, and that's what we kind of chose going forward.
All right, so let's start with the site. So if you could bring up the site plan, and you may need your engineering consultant. Okay, and if you'll zoom in, please. All right, so what I'm reading is the green hatch that's on like the north and the, I'm gonna assume that's east on Bay Shore side. Maybe it's Civil 3D, but it's indicating slope off of the driveway, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then what that tells me is that driveway, is it level with underneath the house? Is there any slope off the driveway when you go underneath the house from the driveway?
She's talking about over here, I think.
Are you,
About
just to,
the
are you
Yeah.
here? At the,
Yes, right there specifically, because you're proposing a
Well,
park on it.
that was the elevation difference between the slab and what the driveway was kicking up from that area. I haven't really finalized that area completely, but it is going to be level or at least sloped over. Similar to the outside front, between the sidewalk on the street over there.
Okay.
We're gonna push that out a little bit more, but this
So,
was something.
so where I'm coming on that is that your property line, that black with the 2 points in between, just north of the driveway?
Yes.
So how are you collecting that water that you're pushing directly to your neighbor to the north?
If you actually look on the north where you have a 5.52, it actually comes to the site. So we're actually collecting neighbors to the north, drainage, going, and then going down to the street.
So, all right, because, but I see the green is indicative of a slope away from the driveway.
The green is actually pervious area. That was.
I understand that,
Okay.
but you just told me green indicated slope.
I was talking about the lines that are there, that we talk about slope there. The green is more or less all the pervious area for my calculation of pervious.
All right, so that's a pervious hatch, it's
It's a
not a
pervious hatch,
slope.
that's correct. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, because I just asked you, and I thought you said that the green hatch was indicating, for example, if we look at where those stairs are, is that not sloping away?
It is sloping toward the house.
Okay, let's look where those stairs are going to Bay Shore.
right here?
Yep.
Oh,
Keep
here.
going, yeah, all right, now look at the green hatch that's north of your sidewalk, directly off of, all right, now just to the left. What is that green hatch indicating? No, well, not there, go to the.
Here,
Yeah.
this.
What is that? Is that not slope?
That is slope, that's correct.
Okay,
I haven't.
so if that's slope there, is it not slope on the north side of the driveway?
On the north side, okay, I got a little slope going away from the driveway there that's going in between. But between the 2 yards, it's gonna be a V as well. You have a picture of it going up the driveway. You'll see that the neighbor to the north is considerably higher, so it actually creates a little bit of a V.
Okay.
And we're gonna slope out.
Because
so-
by code, you have to collect your own water.
That's correct.
Right. So I just want to be clear about that. All right. So what's going to be underneath the house? What material?
Concrete.
The entire underneath the house is concrete?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So how are you collecting the water in the backyard? Pool's there, right?
Here, that's correct.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of a slope. You can see a contour line right there by the 12-inch right here. That's sloping to the north. There's the backside of the frame garage has a little bit of a natural swale. When we go to the north side of the driveway, that's gonna be sloped all the way down to the street, away from the house.
Okay. Well, you're indicating there, it looks like an existing palm tree just north of your new upper deck.
Here.
Yeah. How are you collecting water out of there?
We do need to work on that a little bit, yes, I agree with that.
All right, so now let's look on the south side. Okay, the yellow is an existing tree, right?
Correct.
All right, and let's move farther to the east. Is there an existing drainage problem now on the south side?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there an existing drainage problem?
Okay. So I'm at a disadvantage because I don't know how bad the drainage problem is. Let's
That's
assu-
some, oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm assuming you're not changing anything on the pool area, so
We are
I'm not
not.
overly interested in that. But let's go to the front, the middle and the front yard. Yep, perfect. All right, so that yellow is an existing tree, so you can't do any grade work around that existing tree. So if there's a drainage problem to the west of that existing tree, how are you solving it?
Here.
Yep, so how are you solving that? And then to the east, which leads to my second question, which is this whole export, and you're at just under 50%. And my question is, explain to me how you got this to be an export site, and then explain to me where you're gonna put underground storage in the event you get 51%.
Well, I've already done analysis on that. Basically, if we can fill, the whole southern, south side of this area here would be through pipes and rock in a rock bed, similar to a septic drain field. Yeah, we've already analyzed that would go underneath and could pop out over here in this corner. We would go right up to the tree and underneath the sidewalk a little bit.
Okay,
So I do have that analysis done, but you're right.
okay. So that's in your back pocket
Yes.
in case you can't get flow to work as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So now let's go to this wall, the decorative wall, because it's not a retaining wall, it's a decorative wall, right?
Correct.
Okay. If that wall went away, does it affect the amount of risers you have on your stairs to your main house?
We would have to get from the sidewalk to 18 inches across 3.32 to about 4.5. That's a distance we'd have to make up with some kind of method of access. That would be the difference.
So, I mean, have you explored that?
We have not.
Okay.
We have not. We've looked at trying to get, because one of the challenges that we had from the last meeting is trying to minimize the difference between finished floor and the uppers, which is one of the reasons we went from 18 down to 16, is to compress it so that those stairs didn't create those wings on the side.
Absolutely.
That was the
And
intent.
I appreciate that. I think that's the right approach.
Mhm.
And my question is, does the math work if you don't have that wall?
It becomes a steep access point, a very
Okay.
steep
So
sidewalk.
it potentially could work, but the real reason you're putting this wall in there is visual. You're trying to have that be the first absorbing some of the mass of the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's that, all right. And then your sidewalk coming out of the south stairs,
Here,
yep, that seems awkward where it hits the driveway. Considering that you, again, I understand the nod you're having with the central stairs and everything, but there doesn't seem to be any correlation, and just seems odd if somebody's parking a car.
with where it's hitting the curve.
Yeah.
We looked at a couple that one we did look at various iterations of the drive. It's a challenge one to get access to in terms of a fluid connection. If that's a condition you'd like to look at, we did look at options. This was one that was again, keeping with Foursquare, just a very orthogonal connection point as much as possible.
Okay, so let's talk about options. How wide is that driveway? And I'm talking about the proposed.
12
driveway.
feet?
Okay, did you look at an option where it was a 3-point turn as opposed to 2 aprons?
A 3-point turn where you would come in and then left. No,
Come
we
in,
did not look at
left,
that
and
as
then
an
you could
option.
back up and get out.
Back up again. We did not look at that as an option.
Why didn't you look at that?
Um,
Was there some design philosophy that?
The idea is for deliveries, for anyone else to be able to come through and continue. Again, we presented before, that was one of the intents, is just to provide that continuous access point.
Okay, okay. Let's see. Got it. Okay, all right. Good enough for me on that. All right, let's go to the elevations. And what I would like for you to do is point out on all 4 elevations where anything that's metal, exposed metal, handrail, aluminum louvers.
Okay? Let's go to the floor plans here. Oh, you said elevations, you did, yeah. All right, here we go. On this facade,
Only the flood vents.
only the flood vents that are down below, that's it, right? This is wood, 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 wood.
Got it, okay, thank you.
On this facade, smart vents here, That's it. Let me just keep
Can
going
you
over.
scroll just to see the rear yard? Okay.
Yep.
Don't you have some, I know you got the spiral staircase, I can't see it here. Was there some other railing underneath, or is that going to the stairs underneath?
That's part of the circular stair, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Let me go to that facade. You can see an elevation, but let me go to that facade here. Just to keep going, these are aluminum. That is below the trim line, that historic trim line for below. That is just for durability. And that is part of the breakaway wall system that would break away in case of flooding. And you have the flood vents here,
And then the mechanical units with the brackets.
the bracket that would be underneath the mechanical unit. Thank you. And then here, these are concrete with wood wrapping around them to create that detail. And then this is an aluminum, the handrails on this part would be aluminum. And then the intent was for this to be wood, correct? So the main porch would match the front, and the only one that would be aluminum is part of the circular stair.
Okay, while we're on this one, why the different design on the columns?
That's something that we work with staff on. We looked at various options. We looked at the brick, we looked at various options. That was one way to give the porch a little bit of a different feel, a different aspect, because sometimes, and that was discussed, that sometimes they are different on the back porches. But we did look at the same detail on the back as well. And we wouldn't be opposed to that if that's something that,
Okay. All right. All right, so can you go to your front elevation that has,
Yeah.
I think you have the before and the after. On your detail for your trim on your windows, you show consistent 6-inch trim on all sides. Is that because of what's existing or what's?
yeah, a little bit, and this is what's been traditional. We looked at that. So the top windows, it's hard to see in the 3D model. I don't know if we modeled it completely correctly, but there's a trim band around the top. And they actually engage. There's no upper trim. It's not double stacked. It just engages the top. And that's something that meeting with staff that we kept that detail. So the trim kind of pocketed into it and it engaged. So we kept that same kind of profile as we brought it down. So yes, it was kind of what was there, what we found. Let me go to the detail.
Because would you consider that trim detail indicative of the Foursquare or the Craftsman?
Probably a little more Craftsman than the Foursquare.
Okay, so if that's the case, go to your picture of your 3 examples of that, like specifically like the Oregon house. And then zoom into the window on the Oregon house. So specifically the lower floor.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got various size wood trim,
Mm-hmm.
and it creates a,
There's an upper header, then the 2 sides, and there's a minimal bottom trim.
right.
Mhm.
So if you are, again, I'm just asking,
Mhm.
why would you pick that detail as a Craftsman detail when there's a, let's call it a more refined detail that's available?
I think that's something that we'd be happy to meet with staff to continue to refine. If that's something that's a condition, we'd be happy to look at that as a trim detail. Yes, we would be happy to look at that, yes.
Okay.
Can I jump in here? Because we were trying to match the existing windows. Yeah, we were just trying to match the existing trim work.
Is that your preference?
I mean, we were trying to keep as much of what we consider the original.
Yeah.
There has been significant discussion with staff about not introducing too much Craftsman. The owners actually attempted a few times to add some more articulation to the facade, but keeping with the Foursquare is a simpler palette, just to be frank, it is a simpler palette.
Without a
So
doubt. Without a
we
doubt.
would be very happy to continue to look at that trim detail and to look at that as a detail.
And this is the balance of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Because you're touching every aspect of this
You're right.
house.
What do you pick, what do you keep, and what, that is a tough discussion, you're right.
Absolutely, okay. Let's see, got that. And then, I don't think I have, we talked about the brick on the fireplace.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. All right, that's all my questions. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, not seeing any, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
So I have one other question.
Okay.
Is that window detail the same all the way around? What was on-
You're referring to the proposed window detail?
No, the one that's existing on the front, where you said it meets up.
It's on the upper floor, it's on the second story. I
So
can-
is it the same on the
Yeah,
side,
yeah,
existing?
you can kind of see, well, no, see, because,
Go to the first page where we have the existing.
yeah. See, it's hard to see, because that's something that we found when we started removing it with Ron, that was a detail that was there, but it was covered up at some point when they trimmed out some of the details. But that was something that we found on the north facade that we thought was a nice detail to bring back.
So were they all the same all the way around, or there was differences around?
If I could elaborate, I was on site when we looked at this, and if you look at what's on the screen now, you see the upper header, this is the second story windows, you see the trim around it, how it almost dies into the soffit. There's a trim board under there that's very characteristic of these style homes, that the legs of the exterior, the outside vertical members, the trim on the windows die into that banding that's up there. When you have this detail here, you have your header, and then this would be incorporated into that trim that is not typical. So by removing that header, having the legs on the vertical members of the casing of the windows die into that is more period appropriate, and that is all the way around on the second floor of this house.
Okay. Okay, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you so choose.
Now, again, thank you for your time. We understand this has been a long process, but again, we have no further questions or here for anything you have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so at this point, we're going to close the public hearing, and we will go on to discussion. Floor is open.
So if I can just ask that the picture of what it's supposed to look like be placed, just for purposes of our discussion, if somebody could change the picture to where it,
Oh, sure,
yeah,
sure. The final rendering,
yes, please.
yes.
And out a little bit, just out the whole
Did you want
thing.
to see, oh, you want to see the whole thing, not the
Yeah,
trim, okay.
Okay, that's it.
It seems that they're obviously head and shoulders above where they were last time we were here, but I still think that they're short on getting it to the finish line, to the goal line. I'm not understanding the whole brick going with that color, because maybe one day it was there, maybe it wasn't there, maybe it was showing, maybe it wasn't showing. I'm not feeling real comfortable about the columns above that in the front porch being tapered, and so.
There's not a lot of, I guess, preservation. It's historic reconstruction. It's historic reconstruction as much as it is
Right,
more than preservation.
right.
I think it's almost a redesign of the facades of the house. Materials that we don't know were there or not. Granted, now that it wasn't a really good example
Right.
in its current condition.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
It was a bad example with all the metal siding and the metal soffitting and all that kind of stuff. Understood.
Right.
And nobody knows what it used to be like. And I was hoping there would be much more, evidence of peeling the metal siding off and finding exactly what that siding was, and peeling off the front porch pilasters and finding out what was underneath there. But
Well, I think
it's all
that's-
gone.
I think the testimony is it was added later. That's the testimony I heard about the front porch.
Yeah, I understood it to be that the porch was there, but they added stuff around it.
That they rebuilt.
They reframed around those columns.
Yeah.
There was columns there, but the columns were no longer there, so they just
They
framed
took
around
them off and they
Yeah,
built them with
and they built
framing or something like
the
that. I don't know.
squares that are
But
there.
I think they said they didn't know if even if the columns were brick
Right.
all the way up.
Right. We don't know. It's a reimagining of what the house may have been at one point in time,
Okay.
and yet it's a contributing structure,
Right. Right.
which makes it very, very difficult. And I mean, I guess, yeah.
And then my other concern is to the commissioner's comments about, I'm not understanding how they're gonna keep water on their site. It doesn't seem like that's completely thought through, and the drainage of this site, and it sure seems like their neighbors are gonna suffer from this. I've been on a couple of sites before where they had a swale between and it didn't drain, it just became a swamp. And that's, you know.
It's called a linear pond.
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Right, yes, a linear water
Yeah.
feature, right, yeah, right.
No, understood, and obviously, you know, this site already has some drainage problems, particularly on the south side, because the addition is, what, 6 inches? That one addition that we already grandfathered in is like 6 inches off the property line, which doesn't allow
Any drainage front to back, right?
west to east
Right, yeah.
drainage.
Right.
But you know, I would have liked to have seen a little more like, okay, yes, we're gonna do a trench here, go underneath the existing slab or foundation, you know, of the building underneath, and to create a controlled, and you were getting at that, you know, a controlled drainage from west to east to get it more
I think that can
evident.
be solved.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they do it, they've been doing it in downtown intersections. They cut that little trench across the corner to get the corners to drain downtown. I just wish we had more information on what the house was originally supposed to look like. You know, the roofing, I understand all of their explanations were thought out, and obviously they've been thought about. It wasn't like we surprised them with anything.
So,
If the brick was red, would that make, if the brick match was closer to the chimney brick color?
No,
Dan, did you have a comment?
In speaking about the roof, I am not a great fan of 5E crimp on Bay Shore, because I feel that it was not something that was there originally, because that was what people reserved for agricultural buildings and the buildings in the back. However, but there's no evidence, okay, number one. And number two, when we look at this rendering, which is more or less from the the view of a car, you're not going to see the roof anyway.
right. And I totally get that, especially cranking the building up, you know, up in the
Yeah.
air. You're not going to see the roof planes on a low slope roof.
And but so my only problem is still with the U drive. And
Didn't bring that up a whole lot in questions and answers because we'd already seen it before, and I know a previous commissioner who's not here this evening, you know, was very adamant about the extra curb cut, not good, no bueno.
Yeah.
That having the turnaround, as you started to bring up, have a pull in, back out, and go right back out the same curb cut
They have that.
for deliveries,
They have that design 2 houses down. That,
the same architect.
yeah, right. Right.
Designed it 2 houses down just a few months ago. And yeah, I'm uncomfortable with, and we didn't even discuss that much at all or ask questions about it. I'm uncomfortable with the additional curb cut.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't give them any better visibility up the road to the north to come back out
Yeah.
the original curb cut. You have the same amount of visibility. It's no less safe. There's no safety additional feature to pulling all the way out and having a U drive.
It is possible to hang one's hat on the single, using a single entry point is a spatial relationship that characterizes the property. And that is.
It's a contributing feature.
Yeah, it's a contributing feature,
Not adding the,
not adding a second.
Right,
Not
the
adding a
original
second.
driveway ribbon design is a contributing feature to this property and the neighborhood.
Yes.
but is the 3-point, I mean, to me, it would actually detract from the house. I mean, I'm not crazy about this U drive. I'd rather it go all the way back to the alley, personally, but I understand that that's not up for discussion, but I don't know, just having a 3-point looks too modern to me. It
Well,
just seems
it's
like.
what we see here. It's
I know,
exactly
but-
what we see
I
here in
know,
the
but-
rendering without it finishing and putting a new curb cut in.
I know,
It's-
but
it's-
to me, it just seems more of a
Your retaining
modern.
wall will be different. I guess you could leave part of it out if you want to keep it centered.
Oh, that retaining wall here?
Right, would
That
be
retaining
gone.
wall would just continue down to the edge of the site or whatever.
So, let's back up a little bit. You got a little bit of heartburn about its historical, what'd you say, replication, reproduction?
It's a reproduction, it's not a restoration.
Okay. What could they do differently to make it a restoration?
Well, without much more evidence than we already have,
Well, that's,
is that the bricks would be stucco. The bricks would be painted stucco. The brick pilasters would be painted stucco. The columns wouldn't be tapered, they'd be rectangular.
mhm.
You know, but again, it's getting nitpicky, but as a contributing structure in a historic district, we're making stuff up. Or the applicant is making stuff up. Yeah.
You said that, I
Right.
agree with you, but it's based on the information.
What's
we have.
acceptable, right? What's
Yeah.
what's acceptable? I mean, obviously, all we have is the original house. What's there, and what any evidence that anybody has, and that's that things were stuccoed and painted.
Yeah.
And the chimney was the only thing that was exposed brick.
Okay, so what
But-
I'm hearing is the way the staircase has been proposed, no one really has any issues with that. I'm hearing
It has to be
exposed
what it
brick
has to be.
versus stucco brick. I'm hearing tapered column versus not tapered column, but I'm not hearing anything.
And the second curb cut, yeah.
And the second curve cut. Do we?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else
Nothing's
you get,
horrible.
I don't know how else you get into the home
Yeah,
if you don't
noth-
have these.
I mean, again, we're having a discussion. It's not horrible.
No.
It's really, it's lovely.
Mhm.
Is it a contributing structure anymore? After all is said and done, when this is all rebuilt and it's reconfigured and it's re-roofed and it's re-porched and it's elevated 10 feet up in the air, what about its original historic contributing structure? Almost nothing.
Okay.
And we are stuck here because, and the changes are not or the changes that we are suggesting are not really substantive, right? I mean, it could be brick, or it could be, the suggestion that it
Right.
should be stucco, and then they end up painting it a different color. Well, how is that different than brick? Yeah, you know,
Exactly.
that. And so if we focus, and it has to be elevated, we can't leave it where it is. So in this case, we're sort of putting a fig leaf over our need for resiliency versus our need for the perfect
The contributing
historical-
structure
the
to
con-
remain.
Yeah,
Well-
the contributing structure should remain, exactly. I mean, we've already gone down the road and said, yes, it's okay to,
You could put it up this high.
Raise it.
yeah, like, and they even did us, it is very good that they worked this out so that the stairs don't have to turn back.
And they lowered
That I
it a little
agree.
bit
And
and
they
all that.
lowered it,
Yeah, I agree.
and so they've done a lot of good here.
Yeah.
So should the front just be a little simpler to
Mm.
match the contributing, with the structure that's there now?
But
Like
the
when you
what's-
look at it now, it's all
Well,
kind of
what's-
uniform. There's the only thing that jumps out at you when you go by the house is the chimney. Now it's gonna be
Right.
this brick.
But
in the
what's there
front.
now isn't historic at all. It's wrapped in aluminum siding in that wonderful period of the 70s. You know,
Listen,
So-
you could disagree, you could make an argument about the color of brick, you could make an argument about the second drive. Ultimately, the house is what it is, and it does correspond with the Foursquare and Craftsman, and I think they're walking a very tight balance, and we could argue very fine
Yeah.
points.
yeah.
But to your point, it's not gonna make a substantial difference. And I would like the window trim a little different, but it doesn't matter. And they could work with staff if they so choose. I might not pick that color brick, but it doesn't matter, and that's
It
up to
doesn't
them.
matter because it's not historic in the first.
Well, they're
What's
both on the
there?
house.
They're what?
I mean, essentially, they're going off of a historic reference.
What was
But
there?
the chimney, they could have picked that one as well. If they had gone with purple brick, then we'd have an issue with it. But I mean, either one is fine, they just made a decision on it. The circular drive, again, I think the lot can handle it. I think they did it where it was a design thought where it's symmetrical for the front, essentially. And it reinforces that center step and stair.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring our missing commissioners'
Comments.
concerns to the fore.
I think it's very valid because it does, I've been looking at these houses on Bay Shore with their historic quality. And, you know, this was a house that had a single curb cut. And so what happens is that whole curb cut on this wide parkway gets paved instead of being a continuous
Greenery.
and I think that is somewhat of a loss. But as far as I'm concerned, they could, there are other issues about the house. It is a contributing structure, mostly because of its age. And it's not, it's not a fine example of a force, because it's been worked on for so long that we can't tell what was there. And we could say, oh, those simpler columns are more appropriate because that was what they liked when they, just kind of threw up that porch. They had to redo the porch,
I think
in 1956.
And I think, I think what we're saying here is that, okay, everything's all right. Is there anything that we're gonna put in as a condition?
To me, the drainage is not resolved.
Correct.
And just putting drain arrows indicating that the water's gonna
Go
flow
this
towards
way.
Bay Shore is not gonna be adequate.
That doesn't salt, that doesn't prove, that
Well,
doesn't make the
it's-
water go there?
So, I would like a condition that, the design, is, further complete, so there will be no standing water.
On either side.
Yeah, on either side, right?
And I would agree with Dan in that, the circular drive, I think we're falling down a slippery slope by if we allow this circular drive, then there's another one, and then there's another one, and then there's another, and then the next thing you know, it's just, there's driveways all the way down Bay Shore on that side, so that's.
I don't even know, did transportation approve this? Did we ever get any indication that it's not too close to the next driveway, or that this is an approved design, or is that gonna have to be permitted whether we approve it or not?
Well, again,
That's-
if it doesn't go through, then it comes back anyway. If it's too close, I think it's got plenty of room, but.
Even to the adjacent house's driveway? Like they
Didn't
have,
see
there's
that
a
on the
minimum
site.
distance
Yeah,
between curb cuts?
I didn't see that on
Yeah.
that site plan,
Yeah.
but again, if transportation rejects it,
Okay,
then that's what it is.
all
But
right.
if they approve it,
It's Bay Shore.
Because the transportation approves what works for cars,
Right, not what's historic.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so, anybody wanna proffer a motion?
Let me make sure I got all the details all right. I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 25-0000240 for the property at 825 Bay Shore Boulevard, with the following conditions: that the site drainage be significantly improved to ensure that all areas of the site do not contribute to any kind of a standing water problem to either the neighbors to the north or the south. Because, based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park Design Guidelines and Chapter 27 of the City of Tampa ordinances in materiality and historic appropriate detail.
Okay, we have a motion. Go ahead. See a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All right, the motion to grant a certificate of appropriateness. Any discussion?
I'm still against the circle drive. I'm struggling with that, so.
For me, it's, this driveway is a slippery slope. And we just have to be, at some point we have to say no, and I think it's gonna happen here for me.
And I would hate to see their approval get held up because of the driveway.
Would you want to amend my motion?
If we could put a condition in there to remove the circle drive, then I would be on board with that.
But that doesn't make any sense to me. Then I would say we kill this motion and you make a new motion. I think an amendment might be that the applicant is willing to review and explore an alternative front driveway scheme that does not include 2 aprons, and explore that with staff.
Yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah. Okay with that?
I would like to amend my motion and add a condition that the applicant revisit and review with staff an alternative to the second curb cut that would still accommodate their needs and desires for delivery and improved safety and not having to back out onto Bay Shore.
So let's just make sure we're clear. They're exploring options. To an
Alternatives.
alternative,
Right.
but it's not mandated.
I'm okay with that.
So amended.
Okay, well, you were the second.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Well, I was making sure we don't have any other discussion going on. Anything else? Okay. Do you guys understand the amendments?
We do.
Or the conditions, I should say?
Conditions? Yes, we do.
Okay, and you agree? All right. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. I'm not seeing any other discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it looks like that was unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you
Good
for your
luck on
time.
the project.
Can we just like go around the circle and get that?
Exactly.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. Our next agenda item is ARC-25-00000272. This is for the address of 725 South Brevard Avenue. This is also in the Hyde Park Historic District. The contributing structure dates back to 1906. The underlying zoning is RS 60. The request is for a certificate of appropriateness for new construction in addition to the primary structure, modification by elevating the primary structure, renovations to the structure with site improvements. There has been some previous action associated with this parcel. It's indicated on page 3 of your staff report. There were 3 approvals. One was for a variance for a front yard setback from 25 foot to 5 foot 8 inches. There was another variance that was approved for a structural height from 35 foot to 39 foot 1 inch. And there was a preliminary approval granted. And that preliminary approval, there were 4 conditions. They are reflected on your staff report on page 4. The applicant is aware of how to proceed this evening. We went through a quick overview, and then he's going to go straight into the conditions that were already granted. I just briefly want to go through the photo presentation. We start with the 29 Sanborn map. Property in question is highlighted. It all comes to a corner there on Inman, on Bavard, and on Bay Shore, as indicated on the Sanborn map. This is our vicinity map. You see that the red indicates the local district. Obviously, we're here looking at it because it is in the local district boundaries. You see the proximity to Bay Shore and some of the challenges that it has with the water that comes in. Here you have the bay, you have Bay Shore Boulevard, and you have the apex of the three streets meeting at the subject site. Just to get you reacquainted with the property in question, it's a high-end house. I think last time he showed some pictures of when the current owners bought it and the condition the house was in and how it looks today. So this is the front elevation. This is the front and just kind of slightly over to the north, looking down the vehicular access through the porte-cochere. This is from the apron. You have the sidewalk and then the ribbon drive through the porte-cochere. So just a little closer about the security gate that they have at that location currently. This is looking at the front facade and that north elevation. There is an addition that goes behind this two-story volume here, and this is the abutting property to that north elevation. Just to focus on the perspective that how you entertain or engage with this house as you go down Bay Shore Boulevard. This is from a distance. This is a little closer. It has a huge presence on that corner. Just focusing, there was some question about where the mechanicals were gonna go. It was over here, and then you see the rear elevation of the primary house and the detached structure. Just focusing on the rear of the house. And that completes the photo presentation. We have the owner and the agent here to address the board.
How do I access this presentation?
Ask him to pull it up, yeah.
That's the wrong presentation. No, this is the one we just saw.
Try to X out of it.
Here it comes.
On the upper right.
CCTV is coming
Yeah.
down.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't see it.
It's either that one or one of these three. Those are the two I pulled.
Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, well, it's not pulled up, but we're here primarily to present the 4 conditions in response to our previous hearing. Obviously, we had several approvals. Let's see. There we go. All right. We were heard on September 8th. We got our variances approved, as Ron mentioned. The 4 existing conditions for the certificate of appropriateness, and we're going to start from the least impactful to the and finish with the one that probably deserves the most discussion. So the proposed flood vent design, the roof line on the north elevation, which we failed to, which it was incorporated in our last presentation, but we failed to put it on the drawings that were presented. And then the window placement on the north elevation, there was some conversation about additional windows on the north elevation. And then the biggest issue was really the staircase design in raising the house, how we're going to address the front stairs and the comments that were made were to see if we can reduce the visual impact and really the massing of the stairs. So I've got my architect with me here tonight. We've worked on these issues, and our intent is to present those. So Ron already showed you the site. This is the site plan. You can see where the stairs are located on the site plan. The stairs have changed fairly significantly from our original presentation, but like I said, we're going to start with the easier ones. Proposed flood vent design, pretty typical flood vent in a masonry wall. Number 2 was the roof line detail, and number 3 is the window location. These are both on the north elevation. Ron did show an image from the north looking back at the house. It is the least seen elevation of all the elevations on the property. The property sits on the corner of Inman and Bayshore and Brevard. The front elevation and the Inman elevation are the elevations that are seen the most. We are doing a small addition behind existing conditions that are already on the house. So the two issues that we needed to present, the roof line detail, if you're looking at the proposed elevation, the rear portion, the highest floor, we did bump that wall out, and which created a new roof line to distinguish that addition. Initially, we had it on the same plane. We were changing or calling out the changes and the new work with trim details, but we've kept the trim details. We've also bumped out the wall, and we've changed the roof line to give it a little bit more definition, new compared to what's existing. And then the two windows on that first floor of living, those are new. We had a blank wall there. We didn't have any windows, so we added those windows above the porte-cochere. So you could see those there as the additions. Oh, here we go. So these two windows here, this window and this window we added, and then this is the new roof line here. So this is the elevation that we're talking about, the north elevation. This is a rendering, obviously, but you could see the trim detail, the bump out of the wall, the new windows, and the roof line. And then item number 4 is the stair detail. So we've changed the stairs pretty significantly. Clearly, we've got a grand set of stairs leading up to the house. Initially, we had proposed what's on the left, which is clad in stone on the inside and outside. The stairs were flared out to be wider at the bottom. We've reduced the width of the stairs. We've added columns at the bottom of the main run of the stairs, and then eliminated the stone on either side. We've lowered the concrete wall and come back with a wood railing. The wood is obviously indicative of a lot of the materials throughout the house. So we looked at a metal railing as well, but I think at the end of the day, we felt that it would be introducing a new material that isn't existing on the house. So we went with the wood. You can see in the elevation on the right, it's got that band, horizontal band, which actually we talked about in the last presentation, but that distinguishes the old from the new. And then these are 2 more renderings of the new stairs that are proposed. As you can see, we've reduced the massing on the staircase to try to make it a little less impactful. We're showing the concrete wall below that wood railing as stucco. These need to be breakaway walls and breakaway stairs. So we're proposing just a smooth stucco finish. We'll probably grow a vine on that as well, just to reduce the massing even further. But we wanted to show it, without any greenery on it. So that's it. Those are the four conditions that we wanted to present, so that concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, good evening. Ron Veal, I'm a planner with Historic Preservation. They are letters of support that they're in your packet as well. Wanted to put that into the record. This application is consistent with the Hyde Park Design Guidelines. Part of the approval was granted previously. There were conditions that were outstanding. There were four bullet items. You should concentrate on those 4 bullet items as you proceed with your discussion this evening. And staff feel that all of those items have been addressed. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, we'll start on my left. Oh, excuse me, is there anybody here in the public that's here to speak for or against this project? Okay, not seeing any. Let's start on my left.
I have a question for staff. What were the instructions from the last meeting with respect to the front staircase?
I think to reevaluate it, the discussion was, as I recall, that it was a little heavy and they wanted it to be a little bit lighter. I've worked with his team outside of that to come up with some solutions. There were some alternate solutions, but this is the one that ultimately he wanted to bring forward. And staff felt after looking at them all that this is compatible. It kind of draws the eye away from that central staircase coming up the front. I don't think you could get away from it. We raised the house and it's there. So how do we deal with it now? And in looking at what was prior there, you sent him back to work with his team, which he's done, and this is what he's presenting this evening.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
Surprisingly, I don't have any questions.
My question concerns the area to the left of the new stairway. Was that initially to be a little lower than the rest of the porch?
It is a little lower than the rest of the porch. It's currently lower. It's the same exact relationship that it exists today.
Okay, so
It's a step down.
Excuse me?
It's a step down.
Ah, okay. So it's just like 6 or 8 inches below 6 inches below the other porch. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Can you pull up your north elevation, the new proposed north elevation with the new windows?
In the rendering form, or you want
In the rendering, no, in the,
plan?
there you go. It looks like the 3 windows that are in your new addition are higher than the other windows. Is that just a rendering issue?
Higher than,
Than the ones that, so those 3 windows on your addition appear to be into the top trim board, and the one to the left of it is barely touching the bottom of that trim board? Is that just a rendering detail?
No, they should be the same height.
Okay, all right. And then what material are the stairs made out of?
the stairs, the front stairs?
Yeah, right.
They're a precast concrete stair with breakaway walls.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much for coming back and look at it. The house is beautiful. Real quick question on this north elevation. And I'm just gonna ask the question, the 2 windows that you put in there, is there a reason, like, is that room stop right there, the interior room?
The section of wall between that window, the rearmost window, this window here, and the door, this is the kitchen.
Yep.
So there's really no opportunity for window here. But again, it's really, that elevation is really not seen from.
That's fine, you answered my question. Are you happy with the front stairs? Of all the options?
Yeah, we are happy with the front stairs. When the original comments were made in the last hearing, I agreed with, the common opinion that was, they were a little heavy. I think they're better now, I do. I think they're less impactful, they're not quite as heavy as they were. So we explored initially metal, and it looked good, but it just didn't quite look right. And I feel like we've come up with probably the best solution possible.
Okay, my last question about those stairs is, do they attach to the house at the top, or are they freestanding at the top? And maybe your rendering shows it if you zoom in.
It won't show it,
Oh, it
I
won't
don't
show that.
think, on the rendering, but,
Yeah,
you're
do
talking about this, you're talking about the supporting wall where it meets the house? I'm not sure. what the
Yeah,
que-
that other view, you had.
The wall goes right
Yeah.
to the house.
So now zoom into the revised proposal, at the upper part of the stair, or can you not zoom in?
I'm struggling over here,
So-
but
Yeah.
I'm barely getting the cursor where I want it.
So it's just at the top of the stairs where the handrail.
You're looking at how the handrail attaches
Yeah.
to the wall, or
Exact-
how it
yeah.
ends.
Is there a post up there? Is it
Yeah,
hitting a
yes,
column, or what
there
is it?
is, yeah. So, for some reason, I've got a little bit more definition on this screen than you do up there, but yes, the handrail does die into a column that matches that column down below.
So it's not attaching to the stone, the existing stone of the house or anything?
Not the existing, no.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
It's a new, I think it was saying, that pilaster and that pilaster are the same, and they're both new.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Any other questions? Okay, no more questions, so you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you so choose.
I think we're good.
Okay, perfect. All right, at this point, we're going to close the public portion of the hearing and move to commissioner discussion.
This is gonna be the most impressive, grand, volumetrically stunning house on Bay Shore.
It fits on, it's a beautiful house to begin with. They've done a
Yeah.
wonderful job. I appreciate that.
But just even increasing the mass like that, it's gonna become so big, so impressive. And that's why I think we wanted to make sure that we got as many things right as
Absolutely.
possible, and I think they did a very nice job. I'm gonna nitpick a little bit, just a tiny little bit.
But why would you
Is
do
that none of the, no, but the brand new elevations that came back did not show where the flood vents were. The flood vents were
Yeah.
not in the elevations. We know they're gonna be there,
Right.
they just didn't get put into the elevations. And I didn't wanna make a nitpick out of that, but I just wanna make a comment on that. That's gotta be put into the elevations for final approval by staff, okay? And I would make that a condition of the final approval. But otherwise, no, I mean, you're obviously, I think the client has great taste and I've tried really, really hard to make this work and do it properly.
Yeah, I appreciate the effort they put into it. I mean, obviously, this is a house that's very prominent on Bay Shore. So, I mean, this house, everybody knows this house. So, I think they've done a great job of trying to minimize the impact of raising it. We're gonna run into this a lot in the coming months. All those houses are gonna get raised somehow. So I think they've done a pretty decent job on that.
Okay, do we hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. Let's see. I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented to this public hearing for ARC-25-0000272 for the property located at 725 South Brevard Avenue with the following conditions: that they locate the flood vents on the elevations, because based on the finding and fact that the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons in design, massing, and scale.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? All right, not seeing any. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Do a good job, please.
Yeah, now you gotta have the right contract.
You're right. Right, good luck.
Commissioners, good evening. Ron Vila, planner with Historic Preservation. Our last agenda item is ARC-25-00000318. This is for the address of 820 South Boulevard Avenue. This is in the Hyde Park Historic District. The primary structure is contributing, dates back to 1916. The zoning is RS60. The request is twofold. They have variances, they have two variances. They have a front yard setback from 25 foot to 12 foot with an encroachment for 2.66 feet for eaves and gutters, which they've added to their application, but it really doesn't correlate to what the request is, and you'll see that in the drawings. But for the south side setback from 7 foot to 6 foot, this is where the encroachment for the eaves and gutters of 2.66 feet is important to advertise and to show on their drawings. The certificate of appropriateness is the request this evening, along with the variances for a modification to elevating the primary structure with site improvements. So they're going to go through the variances first. If the variances are approved, then they're going to the certificate of appropriateness. The variance request, the hardship criteria is in your packet. You can follow along. And at this time, we'll go through the photos.
Hey, Ron, I'm gonna interrupt you for 1 second. I understand there are two separate motions, but are we gonna have them do the entire presentation?
For the variances.
Oh, just for the variances?
Just for the variances,
Okay.
because sometimes we separate them, but this one, if one isn't granted, it probably doesn't go forward to the certificate of appropriateness. So I'd ask that you open them together. He's aware that he's going to show the site plan and enter the hardship into the record as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Sanborn map from 1929. What we're looking at, all of the projects this evening were about that same area that got hit by the storms last year. This is another one. Here you have the vicinity map. This is on the 800 block of South Boulevard. And then we have our vicinity map. You see the proximity here. As this project moves forward, we saw some other requests this evening that they're raising the houses substantially. This one this evening is less than 4 feet. So it's in off of Bay Shore. He's gonna show you the base flood elevation, the design flood elevation, the finished floor, all of that will be part of his presentation. So the impact to the structure as it's being elevated is not as great as the other ones that you saw. This is the front elevation. You see the number of steps coming up. You see the more formal entry feature. A little bit closer. You're seeing the care of the front porch and the lacquer on the porch and some of the stepping of the welcome walls as it comes into your columns and pier situation. Here you see the foundation with the open brick lattice detailing. This is the south elevation. This facade here is 6 foot from the property line. As they raise the structure, they have to apply for the variance. The variance in the setback in RS 60 is 7 foot from their side yard. They don't have 7 foot. So this is the need for the variance. And then the overhangs are the 2.66 feet that are advertised. I want to go back for a minute to, I left something out here. But as you look at the facade, as the house goes up, the stairs come out. So that's the reason for the other variances. So 2 variances associated with lifting the house. North elevation and the front facade. Some houses abutting in the district. Moving to the rear facade of the primary house. This is the rear, this is the south, this is the north, the south. This is that setback that you're asking for here. And also just a little bit closer there. So I hope that I was able to show where the variances are being requested. That concludes the photo presentation, and then we'll have the owner and his agent.
We're still in the previous presentation.
Yeah, upper right.
We'll find yours. Looks like we are here, right here. the wrong one. Perfect. Good evening, Board. My name is Matthew Varn. I'm the agent for Ted and Teresa for 820 South Boulevard. We are, as Ron mentioned, we are requesting 2 variances, both hardship driven. On the site plan, let's go back to the site plan. On the site plan, I have them indicated, I don't know if you see my cursor or not, but I have the front indicated here, and I have the side indicated on the site plan here. So as we're looking at the 1915 Sanborn map, we noticed that there's no structures to the south, no structures to the north, and this structure that is encroaching is right here. The south variance, so basically right here, we need a 7-foot setback. We are at 6 foot, and we do have the encroachment of the soffits. So we are requesting the side yard setback variance to formalize the existing nonconformity that originated from the original construction, which was between 1915 and 1916. We had 1922 on here, but we had done research, and it appears that it was built between 1915 and 16, as documented on the 1915 Sanborn map. This construction predates the development of the adjoining parcel. Portion of the residence on the side yard was built to the distance of 6 foot from the current southern property line, whereas the applicable zoning code requires a minimum side yard setback of 7 foot. Accordingly, a variance is requested for the 1 foot encroachment into the 7 foot setback, also reducing it to 6 foot for the portion of this structure only. We're not requesting, we want to make sure it's just for this portion. We are not requesting any other setback on the southern side, just for this portion of the structure. And that concludes the side yard setback. Do we need to stop there and do that one, or do we go on to the?
We're going to do both together.
Read both, okay, all right, perfect, thank you. So the west front yard setback, we are seeking to raise the house. It is a modest raise, nothing like we've seen so far. We're seeking to raise it to the current DFE, nothing more. And with that, we are going to need to encroach into that front yard setback with the stairs for this portion only of the welcome. So we are seeking a front yard setback variance for the proposed stairs exceeding the maximum permitted 8 foot projection into the 25 foot front yard setback, as specified by section 27-159 of the zoning code. The encroachment is necessitated by the scope of work, which involves elevating the residence from its current finished floor elevation of 8.6 feet to meet the required design flood elevation of 12 feet. The existing front porch is located within the 25-foot setback, but based on the zoning code, we do have a projection since we're below the 3-foot mark. However, the additional stairway will increase all of that above that point. Therefore, the variance is requested to allow a 13-foot encroachment into the 25-foot front yard setback, reducing the setback to 12 foot at the greatest point of encroachment. And this is a blown up view of the site plan. We're keeping the same welcome size and everything. We just need that extra space for the front yard. And that pretty much concludes our request for that variance. Do we need to read? I would. Okay, let's go ahead and read that in.
So you want me to read the entire? Okay.
All right, so the first setback, I'm Ted Slack, I'm one of the owners. So the south side variance, which was originally a porch when it was built in 1915, was enclosed around the 1920s, we understand. It creates a variance issue. So question number one about the hardship, the variance request due to proposed FEMA compliance elevation of the home inclusive of attached side porch to avoid future flooding. Number two, question about the hardship or practicality. Our answer to that is the hardship is undue and was created by the builder and first owner of the home, approximately 1915 to 1916. Question number three, the variance if granted will not substantially interfere with others whose property would be affected. So our response is other properties are not incrementally affected by the variance. The side porch was part of the original home. Construction and neighbors have been aware of the existence and position of the side porch since its original construction. Considerable distance still remains between our south side neighbors and the side porch. And then number four, the variance is in harmony with the chapter adopted by the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Our response is the variance will preserve the historic design and integrity of the home, therefore is in harmony with the general purpose of this chapter and the adopted Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Number five, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done. And our response is allowing the variance delivers justice. It allows the current owners to keep the original historic design of the home and their neighbors to continue to benefit from the original aesthetics, which are consistent with other Hyde Park homes. The planned elevation protects its original contributing structure from future flood damage. And then finally, number six, the variance if granted will allow development that is consistent with design standards and compatible with the historic pattern of the historic district. Our answer is the variance is specific to a part of the structure and would keep the home true to its original design when built over 100 years ago and consistent with we were told it's an American four-square home. Staff has told us it's a different design, but whatever design it is, it is. We're not architects. So that's our first variance.
Go to the second.
Second? All right, second one, this is the west variance, which is created only if we are approved to elevate the home to the minimum 12-foot design foot elevation as required by FEMA and City of Tampa. We will by code be required to add additional front steps, of course, to the higher level home. So question number one, the alleged hardship are unique and singular to the respect of the property. And our answer is the variance request is due to the proposed FEMA compliant elevation of the home and attached front porch to avoid flooding. This requires an additional 5 front steps that will bring the bottom step 12 feet from the sidewalk. Question number two, the hardship or practicality. Difficulty does not result from the actions of the applicant. Clearly, our answer is the hardship is undue and was created by the original builder of the home back approximately 1915. Number three, the variance if granted will not substantially interfere with or injure the health, safety, welfare of others. Our answer is other properties are not affected by the variance as the front porch does not infringe on neighbors' properties. There's still considerable distance between the porch with new additional steps required to elevate the house and the public sidewalk. Number four, the variance is in harmony with the adopted Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Our answer is the variance will preserve the historic design integrity of the home. Therefore, it is in harmony with the general purpose of this chapter in the adopted Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Number five, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done. Our answer is allowing the variance delivers justice. It allows the current owners, my wife and I, to keep the original historic design of the home and their neighbors to continue to benefit from the original aesthetics consistent with other Hyde Park homes while avoiding flood damage. Number six, the variance if granted will allow development that is consistent with design standards. Our answer is the variance is specific to a part of the structure design built over 100 years ago consistent with other homes of this design in the Hyde Park neighborhood. The proposed design allows the same current approach from the sidewalk.
This concludes our variance request.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. Both variance items have been addressed. At this point, it's a finding of fact. They've read into the record. You have the paper copy in front of you. You open up for discussion. This is hardship driven, so the question should be held to the variance at this point. If the variance proceeds or approved, then we could go to the certificate of appropriateness.
Great, thank you. Anybody in the public here to speak for or against this? Not seeing any. We'll move on to my right. Questions?
Is it possible to grant a variance to only include the stairs and only include the addition and not just do a generic front yard setback?
Say that again?
Is it possible to only do the variance just for the stairs and just for the?
Yes, we've done
Yeah,
that before.
okay,
yeah.
that's it, okay.
No questions.
I've got a question. Can you come up and the front, the west elevation, and that exhibit that you showed the welcome, it was a cross-section that showed the,
Oh, sorry. I guess I'm technically challenged today too.
sorry.
This one?
No, the cross-section, right there. So,
Yep.
so zoom into there if you can. And my question is, you've got the black, the stairs outlined in black, which is
Yes.
nice, thank you. Whatever that dimension is from the bottom stair to the setback line. Is that the exact dimension that's there now on your welcome wall and stairs?
Actually, no. So the welcome wall is at, I don't know how to zoom in so I can show you any,
Maybe I can put up
That
paper
was-
copy
we'll
here.
put it over on the. It's actually the welcome wall, because the welcome wall is at 4 foot, which is above that 3 foot line.
No, I understand that the setback is the welcome wall. I'm asking that internal dimension from the westernmost face of the welcome wall to the riser of your stair. What you're showing on that drawing, what I want to make sure is we're not putting more space there than what's there now.
You have to turn that on. They'll do it, okay.
Okay, and then there's a zoom there.
You got it there?
Is it showing up there?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So the setback
All right,
here.
so go to the western line, the vertical line for,
Okay.
right, all right, so your pin's kind of right in the middle, but the
Yep.
red line from there to the face of your lowest tread,
Yep.
right, the riser, is that, whatever that dimension is that exactly what it is today on the stairs?
Is that exactly what it is today? No.
So why is it bigger? I don't want to give, my thought is, why am I giving you more room unless you have to have it? That's what I'm asking.
Well, so our setback at this point is, on the existing, is approximately here, about 18 foot. So we're adding 5 steps, bringing it out.
I understand that.
Okay?
It's all about that one ratio from your bottom riser to the face of the welcome wall.
Here.
Yeah, just that dimension. So today, on your welcome wall and your bottom riser, have you enlarged that space right there?
No.
If it's exactly the same, that's fine.
Yes, that is exactly the same. I mean, I'll have to see a picture of it, actually.
Ron's got pictures.
Do you have a picture of it, Ron?
Hmm?
I can clarify. It has to be this dimension, even if it's further away, so that the caps can be the same dimension and
Okay,
Here's the picture.
but it's
Here's the
still
picture.
maintained as a guardrail
okay,
dimension, clearance height.
got it.
So here's the picture.
That's why they did it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we are trying to hide that handrail that we have to add in now,
Okay,
which necessitates some of the height there.
Ways of creating that.
all right. Functional reason, got it. All right, any other questions? Okay,
No,
All right.
I was gonna have, concerns about the same thing, but.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so seeing no other questions, if you have up to 5 minutes if you so choose.
I think we'll yield it back to you guys.
Perfect, thank you. All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing for this portion. Discussion? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, no, the discussion is that by creating the rise and extending the stairs, it creates the welcome walls having to become so much bigger and so much more prominent to hide that railing, which is unfortunate, because I think they're out of scale, a little out of scale, out of proportion, but it's kind of what has to happen. That's my only.
Okay, and we can
comment.
discuss that in the next one. All right,
The
somebody want
the
to
only,
propose
the only
one?
condition I want to have is that we're only approving the stairs and only approving the,
Yes.
so.
Okay,
And I believe that that doesn't even need to be mentioned in the approval of the variance, because it goes without saying that we are only approving that. Is that correct? Staff?
Do state that with regard to the variance, that it's limited to that section on the drawings.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. I'd like to make a motion then. I'll make a motion to approve, move for that the variance request for case ARC-25-00000318 located at 820 South Boulevard, as depicted on the site plan presented in the public hearing, for a front yard setback from 25 feet to 12 feet with 2 foot 6 foot for eaves and gutters, and a south side yard setback from 7 foot to 6 foot with a 2.66 foot for eaves and gutters. Oh, sorry. Be granted with the following conditions: that the setback variances only pertain to the front steps and the side existing addition. Based upon the petitioners meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-114D of the City of Tampa Code and Ordinances for granting variances as stated in the evidence provided in this public hearing. Specifically, is there more of that? Oh, specifically that,
That the applicant has met the hardship criteria.
yeah, that the applicant has met all the hardship criteria.
I'll second.
all right, so we have a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously.
So I need to go back to the projector. Okay. We need to see our slides on the projector again. Here we go, PC. Thank you.
But they'll do it for you.
Okay. perfect. Okay, as I said before, I'm Ted Slack. I'm one of the owners of the house. This is my wife, Terry Young. I want to go through just a quick overview of why we're here. And then Matt is going to take over and go through some of the technical details that I know you'll all want to hear. So we, the owners here, obviously live on Boulevard, South Boulevard, and our home is at a very high risk of future flooding. We are located, according to Dave Jennings, in a flood zone AE 11, and our house is currently at an elevation of 8.6 feet. So we need to lift our house from 8.62 to 12 feet to be FEMA compliant. We would have liked to have not lifted it as high, but we understand we have to lift it to the FEMA minimum requirement. So we're going just to that minimum 12. We experienced significant flooding during Helene last year. I'll show you a couple pictures of the flood waters around our house and on Boulevard. And I have Ron and staff suggested I crawl under the house after everything dried out and take pictures of our floor joists so I can show you how close the water got to entering our home. On our street, the 800 block of South Boulevard, approximately 10 of our neighbors had flood water that came into the first floor of the home, including our next door neighbor, right next door on the south side. The flood water got within 6 inches of entering our first floor. Did some other damage, but it didn't come into the house. So to mitigate the risk of this happening again in the future, we're seeking to request a modest elevation of the home to the minimum FEMA requirements for design flood elevation of 12 feet to protect it from future storm surge. We originally did not want to do this. We were very concerned about the beauty of the neighborhood, our home. We think our home is not the nicest house in the neighborhood. We think it's a very nice house. And we didn't want to impact negatively the look of the house. It's very cool looking. It's got a lot of historic charm. And we've been on the beach with houses on stilts, and we just think they look horrible. We understand why they're built that way, but we're very concerned about doing this. Fortunately, Matt, who's our general contractor, he's a very good artisan at working on historic homes, restoring, repairing, refurbishing historic homes to their original charm. And he also does architectural drawings. So he used AutoCAD and said, well, before you say no to it, let me draw a couple elevations with a way to elevate the home, but to blend it so that it's not quite so visible. He said, I can't hide the stairway, but I think I can make the rest of the house have a blended look so that you won't notice that it's lifted as much as if you just raised the foundation of the home. And we'll show you those slides here in just a moment. We want to make sure the changes are historically appropriate and keeping with the period and style of the homes in the Hyde Park. We want to maintain the current two-story structure, maintain the historic character of the home and the neighborhood, and again, a minimum DFE of 12 feet, while creating an illusion of a shorter foundation by lowering the current siding down. And we have examples of other homes in the neighborhood and Hyde Park where siding often comes down all the way to grade or even close to grade, where ours does not now and obviously wouldn't with what we're proposing. And we're trying to do this to minimize the impact of the look and feel of the home, obviously. Enhance the Hyde Park community by preserving one of many beautiful homes there. We don't want to completely change it. We're not trying to add garages or additions or anything like that. We're literally, our approach to this is to fix and repair what could not be done in 1915 because the original builder didn't have information that we have now. Before our home was built, the Great Gale of 1948, I think, had a flood surge, a storm surge of 15 feet. That happened before our home was built. About 6 years after our home was built, the Tarpon Springs hurricane had, we understand, 11 to 12 foot surge in Tampa Bay. Probably impacted this house. We don't have any pictures to prove it, but probably did. And then, of course, with Helene, based on the pictures we took and the tape measures, picture that I'll show you in a minute, we think there was about an 8 to an 8.5 foot surge from that storm, and we almost flooded. So it hasn't happened yet while we've been here, but we're afraid it will. So we're trying to take some kind of step in advance to avoid coming to you with a damaged home that we've got to fix and lift and deal with the 50-50 rule. Obviously, this includes a need for 2 variances to achieve this. So these are pictures from the night of Helene. That day, many of you remember, there was hardly any rain, hardly any wind. We had a little bit of water coming up, Bay Shore and up Boulevard, and by 5 or 6 o'clock, it looked like we were all in the clear. We thought the hurricane had gone north of us, and about 6 or 7 o'clock, all of a sudden the water just started coming up Boulevard very quickly. And these pictures were taken about 10 o'clock at night, and you can see in our backyard, that's actually a pool there. There's a pool under this, completely covered. This is an auxiliary building we built in 1921 with Ron and staff and ARC's help. We had about 18 inches of water flood that. You can see our lawn chairs are underwater here. And this is our front porch. By high tide at 1:30 in the morning, water came within 1 inch of getting on our front porch. So it was so close. After I called Ron right after that, and I said, I think we're going to have to do something about this to avoid the future. So this is a picture of me under the house. This is a floor joist in our kitchen. It's the back of the house. You can see the water line here was 6 inches away from the subfloor. And then in the front of the house, this is the original home. And this is an original floor joist. And the flood water got within 8.5 inches of the front of the house. So very close. Too close for our sake. We contacted Dave Jennings. Matt suggested, and we'd seen him present with other homeowners in the neighborhood at this forum, and he confirmed that our property is in an AE11, so the floor would be required to be at elevation 12.0 NAVD to be compliant. We do have a crawl space of about 2 feet. We don't require a breakaway wall, but we need flood vents. the way our home is built now, there are 42 piers supporting the house with brick vents between them all. And so those would obviously provide the same structural benefit as the flood vents. So we don't need to add flood vents, we don't believe. But we're certainly open to that feedback if the city of Tampa requires it. When we first looked at Matt's drawings, this is Matt's original drawing that got us to consider even coming before you to consider this. So this is actually a picture of the proposed home. We brought the original, or the current siding goes to the finished first floor, which is like this level. So we're actually bringing the siding down to this level, and currently at the bottom of our house is a drip cap molding, and then there's a sort of a weatherboard here at the bottom. And so our proposal was to bring the weatherboard and the drip mold to the bottom as it is now, so that it blends a little bit, you know, the foundation, which is going to be raised a little over 3 feet. Staff, ARC staff came back to us. They recommended we take this approach, which is to leave the drip cap molding and the weatherboard where it is. We weren't as comfortable with that look. We actually added a silhouette in each of these of a 6-foot person in terms of them walking up by the house and what they would see. And a 6-foot person would be looking right at that weatherboard, which has been, would remain where it is now with siding beneath it. We don't feel like that maintains the historic character of the home as much as our original proposal. Ron and staff recommended we draw this with just raising the foundation and leaving the original house exactly as it is. And this to us feels like a house, a historic home that's been moved to St. Pete Beach on stilts. So this is a 6-foot person walking in front of that. They would obviously see the weatherboard again, just like in this particular rendering, but they'd also see a very high brick foundation, which is not what we were hoping to do. So we've come back with a compromise. This is our final proposal that we're bringing to you today, which is to leave the current existing drip cap molding, and this is what it looks like. You're welcome to take a look at it. Can I pass it to you? This is the drip cap molding that's there with the white weatherboard beneath it. And we were proposing to leave that there. It's there now, painted white, and then bring siding down below it, which would blend the lifting of the home with the foundation, obviously a little bit over 3 feet higher than it is now. We can't do anything with the front stairs. We have to add 5 steps to be with code. And these welcome walls have to go up with it, unfortunately, but that's the only thing we cannot blend with this presentation. And this is the siding. So what Ron's going to give you, we have to use FEMA grade 4 or 5 materials for anything below DFE. And so that's wood siding that we have on our house now. And then that has been, the second is PVC molding, or PVC siding that's been milled by Northrum Lumber. That we've actually used on the auxiliary building in the back. It looks exactly the same, but it is FEMA compliant. So we would use that as the, everything below the design flood elevation to help blend the lifting of the home. So this is a neighbor right next door to us on the south side. We mentioned this house did flood on the first floor, and they have the same drip cap molding on their home. It's at the finished first floor level. So that's what inspired us to come back with this recommendation. They've got it, we've got it. It does provide a separation between the existing historic home and the new, but it's minimal. And then one of our challenges with just raising the home and raising the foundation, we cannot do anything to hide the brick foundation on this side because of our driveway. We can't put landscaping. So you're just going to see, you know, a 5-foot foundation when you walk to our house. And a lot of our friends and neighbors park in this driveway and then have to walk in either this side door or the front door, and they're going to be looking at just a large foundation. So our proposal is to use that siding to blend it, keep the differentiation there because the materials are different. If you do any forensic examination of the home, you would clearly see the difference between wood and PVC. If you took these corner boards off, you obviously would see the difference between wood and PVC. but to provide at least an additional, more distinctive delineation, we're happy to leave the drip cap molding that you have there in front of you as a differentiation as well between the two. Okay? And again, as we mentioned before, many of the homes in Hyde Park, we've got pictures in our appendix. The siding in many of the homes in our neighborhood go all the way down to the grade or just above grade. And so we think it would be consistent with the architecture of the neighborhood. Okay? So our goals are aligned, we believe, with the Secretary of Interior's guidelines. This actually comes from their documentation on how to do this. So we're trying to obviously reduce flood risk. We almost had our home flood. We got lucky. We're very much trying to maintain the historic character. We're not trying to add a bunch of porches and, you know, different driveways and additional living space. We're not trying to add additions. We're just trying to fix and repair the height of this home, which could not be done in 1915 because they don't have the information we have now. We're trying to blend the elevation change with the existing structure to preserve the historic look and feel of the home and enhance Hyde Park by not coming to you to say, hey, can we tear down another house? We absolutely want to avoid that. Obviously, this needs to be feasible and affordable. All these lifts cost at least $500,000, and we think it's worth it because the home's a beautiful home. So that's the introduction to this. I'm going to turn it over to Matt now to go over some of the details of the lift that we're proposing.
All right. Yeah, I'm Matthew Varn, authorized agent and general contractor for Ted Slack and Teresa Young. So the architectural drawings. So we are just lifting. So any impact to the site, we are going straight up. We're not adding any pervious, any impervious. So we're just lifting. I don't know if I can zoom in on this very well. Yeah, find me
That's this one?
So we do need 5 additional steps. The approximate lift is 3.38 feet to get it to the current DFE. Can you guys see any of these numbers or no? Okay. Right, so if we can flip over to this.
Which one do you want to look at?
I think we're gonna go right to this. Let's go over here. So this is our current structure. Basically, it's showing our finished floor elevation right here at 8.62. And then this would be, so that's the front elevation as it sits. And then this is our current. This would be our proposed. The approximate raise is 3.38 roughly. It keeps our peak height at 31 feet, which is measured off of the DFE. And as Ted mentioned, keeping the drip cap, we have the ability to mask some of this height with the PVC siding, which, like Ted also mentioned, we can at a later date, if for some reason it needed to be reduced, we would know exactly where it is because of the differentiation between the materials. All right, cool. So that's our front elevation, which definitely keeps us within the 35-foot maximum. Okay, and then what's our next slide?
You want to just go here?
This is showing our welcome wall. Again, to hide the stair handrail. We did need to add a little bit of mass to the welcome wall. This is our original. And this is our proposed. Okay. All right. Take the next
slide with this.
Okay, so this is, yeah, go ahead and zoom that out. Basically, this is just our cover sheet. It's showing what our purpose is. You know, all of our lot coverage is staying the same. We are not changing any, we'll jump to the site plan next, showing all the hardscapes and landscapes, and stuff like that. Yep.
Site plan?
Yep, site plan. Okay, let's see on that. Again, we're just, you know, keeping all green spaces, we're keeping all lot coverages, we're not changing any of that. We've got our trees, any of the trees that would need to be removed, we would remove those and try to save them. If we couldn't, we would try to, you know, we would definitely replace them with like for like. We're protecting our oak trees in the back, you know. Another good point on this one is our original HVAC units are here. And lifting the house and getting those up, our mechanicals up to the DFE, they would be exposed above our cross fence right here. We threw around a couple options for a screen off of that fence, which would probably need a variance as well. But it was, you know, we weren't sold on it. So as another option, we thought to move the HVAC behind, the two condensers behind this structure here, which is the porch that we just had for the variance, which would mask it from the street. We already did the west elevation, didn't we? Did we already do this? I think we already did this elevation. I think we already did this elevation. Let's go to east. Okay, so this is showing the proposed or the existing of our east elevation, which is the backyard. We have three access points. We have 2 access points in the back. And then this is showing our proposed, which we would have to add stairs. This is all wood. It's all wood. Okay. Showing our differentiation line here, which continues around. And additionally, we would bring the PVC siding up. Okay. All right. This is showing our existing north elevation. Existing welcome. And this is our southern elevation. We would keep all the same massing on the brick piers, the brick vents, to keep that architectural detail going. We would have to increase these stairs here. Again, these would all be wood. And this is the variance that we've been approved for. Okay, what do we got next? And this is the south elevation, showing our existing, which we do have a set of stairs here, which comes to some hardscape. We've got stairs here going to the pool. We would have to change our stairs around a little bit. All wood, delineation line, PVC. Our brickwork would all be masked the same. Okay. So this is roughly our wall section. Basically, everything above this, we're pointing out, and we also do have a materials palette that we'll show next. Everything above this line would remain the same, along with this molding. Everything below would be the PVC. Our brick, we would most likely have to rebuild the brick, but we would build it in the same manner as what we have, same massing. any of the piles. So everything below this line, we do need to use the class 4 and 5 materials. We would brick veneer our columns. This right here is actually, I believe this is an addition that was built in the 80s. So these are, I believe, are concrete cinder block underneath with brick veneer on them. Okay. All of our windows are remaining, shingle roof remaining unchanged. All right, so let me zoom in. So basically, this is depicting the siding. Siding you guys, we passed around. Everything below our line, we would use this siding to differentiate. Shingle mold would remain the same as it is, wood, and then all of our siding would remain the same. Brick veneers, solid brick for our vents and and then basically all of our windows are staying the same, unchanged. All of our trim is staying unchanged. Asphalt shingle roof unchanged. Exposed rafter tails, beautiful soffit work. It's all remaining unchanged. The porch materials, as we're raising the porch, and mainly the front porch, as we're raising the porch, there may be some stuff that needs to be repaired. We intend to repair that with identical materials to what's there. Whether it's the wood and everything, keep the architectural details unchanged. Okay, foundation enclosure, appearance identical. Again, as far as the key below the design flood, we want to keep the foundation enclosure identical to the massing that's there. This right here, so this right here, this is the project site. And basically what I did was we went down and we drew little line sketches of the houses. We got the elevations, and basically, so we can see that, there's not a real, as they were built with different times, different styles. We got a story and a half next door. We got a non-contributing structure to the north. We got another story and a half. A lot of the heights are never going to be the equal or the same. So we just wanted to depict that and what we're and the elevations of the peaks. This right here is a non-contributing structure that is built to current codes. I'm not sure the exact time this was built. I think it was probably 2010, roughly.
Last 10 years.
But it does have a current elevation. Let me zoom in on this. So this is the current elevation above sea level, 47 foot to the peak. And then our peak height off of the design flood elevation is the 35 foot. So as raising these homes in this neighborhood goes, this would be kind of like the maximum height, and we are actually about 4 feet below that. Okay, do we need to, want to go through any of the appendix?
Nope.
All right, cool, and then I think we
That's it.
yield the time back to you guys.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. Just to reiterate that we have the letters of support that are in your packet. In working with the owner and the agent, staff find this application is consistent with the Hyde Park Design Guidelines and the Secretary of Interior Standards with the plans that we looked at on August 19th. In the mitigation, the flood mitigation portion of the Secretary of Interior standards on page 76, and I think it's very important. We saw 3 raising of the houses from grade, from floodplain, to be consistent with FEMA's requirements. And in bold on page 76, it discusses establishing a universal standard or measurement on how high any given building should be is impossible to come up with that formula. So as we look at these, I think they're on a case-by-case situation moving forward. Having put that into the record, I had some conditions associated with this request. Through the presentation, he hit on most of these. The summary that I feel is comfortable here is that he's raising it less than 4 feet to the minimum DFE at 12 feet. He's been in consultation with the floodplain manager, Dave Jennings. The front steps, you look at it, if they need to be breakaway or not, he has an email stating that what is presented in all aspects of the review is acceptable to the building department. Now, moving forward, there's probably gonna be some tweaking moving forward as the plans examiner look at it, but the overall concept of what is presented today meets the preliminary review. We also, in reviewing it and staying consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards, we look at that datum line that has to be incorporated into the project. They have that drip cap that they put there. He went through different iterations. This is what they landed on. There is, this addition is speaking out that there's different material below that datum line than what's above that datum line. In all projects that come forward, we have our standard template at the bottom of page 3 with a wall section with the material palette for the roof, the overhangs, the exterior wall materials, the doors and windows, the trim, the porches and lighting and hardware. None of that is changing through this request this evening. So just focus on the portion that's here. We spoke about the variance already, that we're past the variances already, and focus on the mitigation that he's showing you this evening. I'll be here to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Ron. Anybody in the public here to speak for or against this project? All right, not seeing any, we will move on with questions, starting on my right.
On your site plan, can you tell me how long the driveway is from the sidewalk? Is there a measurement on there?
I do.
I thought it was just me.
I do not have a measurement on there, but this right here is the 25-foot setback. The house is approximately, 3 foot off of that.
So
probably,
it appears that you don't have the ability to park 2 cars in that driveway inside the sidewalk, is that correct?
Yeah, oh yeah, we do all the time.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, it can't be a super long, but
Yeah.
I have an SUV and we park 2 SUVs in there all the time.
Okay. All right.
And we do not block the sidewalk when we do that.
Okay.
Oh, we also have a back parking area too, right here. So this is an auxiliary building we built in 2021, and that's a parking area right there, just brick pavers.
Okay, well, previously you had made mention that you couldn't, on your front driveway, that you couldn't put any type of foliage there to mask that,
Correct.
to screen that massing because of the driveway, is that?
Correct, that's right.
yeah, we do have the brick rib, do have the concrete ribbons and the brickwork.
Right.
So
So
that-
we can't plant anything to, any shrubbery.
Well, okay. Your mechanicals, if you move your mechanicals to your new location that you're proposing, is there a way that you can screen those so that your neighbors can't see those?
Probably.
Yeah?
I think we could work out something on that platform.
Okay. And then on your brick detail, on your elevations, existing doesn't show, it just shows that it looks like you have a brick lattice work of sorts. And your new looks like you have solid brick at the bottom with the lattice work above it.
It's probably a probably a drawing error. Basically, we would, let's see, we would continue what is there now. So as we could retain the flood, the available flood for the water to push through as
Right.
necessary.
Yeah, we had foundation work done in 2019. We had some damage from previous rainwater.
Yeah,
And when the foundation company rebuilt the foundation, they were originally brick piers. They removed those. They put a water seal on the bottom, cinder block, poured concrete between them, termite shield on the top, and they put brick veneer. And then the vents between the piers, they just put a footer and then vent brick on top.
yeah, so,
That'd be the same.
so your proposed looks like you have a solid brick wall below your venting. Is that incorrect?
That's
This,
it.
this is incorrect, yes.
Okay.
It's just a drawing error. We would bring this vent down. We could potentially make a portion of this up here solid, but, you know, there would definitely be flow through for the
At
flow.
grade?
Absolutely.
Okay,
At grade, yes.
okay. All right, that's all my questions.
So is that brick, the brick screening around, at the foundation, is that painted at this
Yes,
time?
It is painted.
Oh, you guys are lucky.
It was painted when we bought it.
Yep. And the porch,
The porch
front,
is not.
right, but the front porch, I want to know about the front porch.
It's just red brick.
Yeah, but the floor,
Okay.
it's some nice, you've done something to it, you
Brazilian.
mentioned
Oh,
it.
it's a Brazilian cherry porch floor that we had installed, I don't know, 2019 we had that put. It's very nice.
Ah, okay.
It's
So
pretty,
that, and
we
that's-
get a lot of compliments on that.
so that gets lifted up. then.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are my only questions. It seems very sensitive. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple questions. One for staff. Is the PVC material acceptable in lieu of hardy board, or is hardy board a more acceptable material?
I think they're compatible materials, and reviewing this with the building department, this does meet FEMA's requirements for that mitigation, you know, below that datum line. So,
I just hate the word PVC. You know?
Too.
We do totally comply.
We agree. We agree.
well, I thought the same thing, but when he brought me in the sample and how they could work with it, it works like wood.
It looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked great, the sample that came by here. That was a technical thing about, I know the word PVC does not go with historic preservation very well.
Understood.
We agree.
If
We could put wood, we would.
can you put that elevation back up that shows the front elevations, and I got a very specific question for you. The white weatherboard stripe across on the existing condition,
Yep.
okay? When you raise the house and you leave the drip cap, which is the right thing to do to indicate here was the original house, here's the stuff that we added later, right? Couldn't you put the weatherboard back at the bottom so that the brick exposed?
That was our proposal. That's our original proposal.
That the
So-
exposed, back at the bottom, so that the exposed brick matches the height of the original exposed brick. That was not one of the other alternatives that was shown earlier.
So what you're saying is, could we leave the drip cap in the middle?
And
then
drop the
wa-
weatherboard to the bottom, so that the
Weatherboard.
white stripe is in the exact same place.
So not bringing the brick up at all?
Correct. Don't bring the brick
Yeah,
up.
I'm asking that, yeah, we.
Bring the siding down and leave that weatherboard at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah, we did think about it, we didn't have anything drawn up.
Can
and
you
the
come
reason
up
why we
and-
didn't go that-
You need to stand up,
sorry.
Jerry.
Since you spoke up, now you have to
Terry
introduce
Young's
yourself
the
and tell
wife.
us who you are and everything.
We did talk about it, and the reason why is we were really seeking to blend and honestly mask that we had ever done anything to this house. And so we thought that bringing the brick up a little bit and bringing the siding down a little bit really did, met that conceptually in the best way that we,
does.
that we could.
It
So
does.
We thought that bringing the siding all the way down, it just makes it makes the first story look disproportionate to the second one. It just, We just thought
Well,
it would
but
look
that's what I'm saying, the
stage.
white, and in this particular drawing here, you show the weatherboard down low.
Right, but we also
with the-
brought the brick up.
No, on the upper left,
Yes, that's right.
you brought the weatherboard down and kept the brick at about the same height.
No, the brick came up, what, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet?
Brick came up
Okay, so it came up a little bit,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's currently 2 feet now, and
Yeah,
it would be
yeah.
a little higher.
Okay. Now go back to what
We
you're
sort of met in the
really, what
middle.
you're proposing to do, which is, but without the white stripe at the bottom, without the weatherboard at the bottom, which is what the current house looks like.
Sure.
And is there, I'm just trying to figure out why you wouldn't do that.
Is keeping this proposed,
Right.
keeping this here, but then dropping that.
You keep the drip cap up
Essentially,
high,
you're saying, do the upper left and keep the drip cap.
Where
at
it
the
is.
Finished floor elevation.
where it is. And that makes the house look,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know,
We did not
to me,
talk
it
about
seems
that.
to make more sense to
Yeah,
do it that
wa-
way.
The waterboard around the neighborhood is always at the bottom of the siding. It's
Exactly.
never in the middle, so.
Right, right. So it makes sense to do that, even if you want to, compromise and it's not the exact same height off the grade that it is now, but put the weatherboard back.
Yep.
So there's not as much blank new PVC
Yep.
siding and
Yep.
there's not as much brick. So that's my suggestion.
We're fine with that.
Also, when we go to the welcome wall in section, I have the welcome wall just seems like it's gotten really massive.
Yeah, we want section, one side. So let's take the,
Which one you want?
keep going. Let's go section. One more. There we go. There.
Yeah, and if you can zoom in on that. Because, the idea of a welcome wall is just to cover the sides of the stairs.
Yeah, we agree.
And now you're building these massive brick walls.
A lot of that's driven by that, we have to put a handrail in, which we don't have now.
Well, it's because you're over the 36 inches, which means you have to have some kind of protection at the edge there, right?
And over 3 steps, I think, is the other part of it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But the idea of the welcome wall, this is not a welcome wall anymore. It's kind of bastardizing, for lack of a better phrase, what a welcome wall is. And I think I would almost rather, personally, would you entertain, let's put it this way, would you entertain having like a nice single brass rail, but lower the welcome walls and reduce that mass quite a bit?
Yeah, so the welcome wall currently right now, the top here is in line with the floor,
Yeah.
the porch floor. And the only reason we raise it up, because we have to put a handrail in and we're trying to attach it to something. I know.
I would much rather these welcome walls be much lower and less massive, and then see a nice little delicate rail of some kind across the top of it or inside of it or something.
Yep.
And I think that would be so much more elegant to the front of your house.
Yeah, the
Because,
need for the handrail was the only reason we raised it.
yeah, I don't think that would be, I wouldn't do that. Let's put it that way. I would lower those brick and expose the rail.
Yeah, so this is the.
Right.
We did not hit this one for some reason, but, this is what we are proposing inside that wall. Is
Right.
like a bronze.
And I see exactly what you're gonna do. I would rather just see that rail on top exposed and have so much less of that brick so that the brick is much more elegant. Because the idea of the welcome wall is you can sit on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you can't sit on it, right?
Yeah, part of
You can't put a pot.
Part of the challenge
You
with
put a
top walls,
fire.
the brick is part of the original, the brass rail is not. But we gotta add it, by code, we have to.
It could be bronze, it could
Yeah.
be a nice little piece of wood, it could be something else. I would investigate that.
Okay.
And then, when you rebuild the brick vents, because you're gonna have to rebuild them once you raise it all, they're all gonna fall apart and whatnot. You're gonna have to buy more brick.
Yes.
How are you planning on making sure that the stuff matched what you have versus, it's painted.
It's painted.
It's painted.
It's painted.
We already figured that out, didn't we? We
We've been
figured
doing
that
it
out.
already.
Never mind.
We did it before, just, it's painted.
I was gonna recommend like you do the whole front with the original brick and then do the back of the house with new brick so that you wouldn't see that it didn't match. But now that it's all painted, that's a totally moot comment. That's all I have.
No question.
Okay, we leave that up. Real quick, I think Commissioner Prokop hit everything that I had. Why bronze or brass?
Just trying to keep it with something that would be in that period.
Yep. The only thing I would have is.
We don't want aluminum, I know.
No. But you want it to disappear.
We do.
That's right.
We don't want it there.
So, but that's not the material to make it disappear. So.
Plus you gotta polish it.
True, that's true.
So go simple with it, and it sounds like you guys are open to,
Yeah, that's.
redoing this welcome wall and all that, so
We
that's
have to
good.
put a rail in, we would like to hide it as best we could and make it blend as best we can.
Perfect. Okay, all right, you've talked to everything. All right, I don't have any more questions. Okay, all right, so no questions from us. You have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you so choose.
We're good, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, at this point, we're gonna close the, public portion of the hearing and move on to discussion. So you hit everything for me, as long as we put those conditions in, work with staff on that.
Yeah, I'm good with
It's
that.
gonna look
I
nice.
was even thinking like a good old piece of wrought iron or something else like that, painted wrought iron or white, white wood or something, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into the details.
Yeah.
You're not gonna decide it.
The detail, it just doesn't attach to the existing house, the original existing house, so it just on the upper
It
stair.
attaches to the new welcome wall with like a vertical.
Well, I'm thinking the welcome walls aren't there, they're down low.
They are down there.
Right, so it attaches to the stair tread on the inside of the welcome wall, and then it doesn't attach to it, so it's your upper stair trail
Yeah, it
and
can be
your
inside,
lower,
it can be inside,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
so,
And it can be a single rail.
absolutely. I
It
think
doesn't
it,
need any pickets below it.
absolutely,
No, no.
and it disappears, absolutely disappears.
I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 25-0000318 at 820 South Boulevard, with the following conditions: that the applicant consider leaving the drip cap in place, but placing the weatherboard lower beneath the new siding, that the applicant consider reducing the height and mass of the welcome wall and exposing the guardrail and working with staff as to what exactly that handrail or guardrail might be. I think those are the only two conditions. Because, based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines in the city of Tampa in materiality, scale, and massing, and Chapter 27 of the Tampa ordinances.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second, with conditions. Any other discussion? Does the applicant understand the two conditions? And you agree to the conditions?
Can we
Okay,
can we
perfect.
bring the drip cap down with the, what, I'm just kidding. One more try.
It's getting
No.
late, it's getting late.
No, the answer is a hard no.
Just thought I'd ask. My wife wanted me to ask, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Don't throw her under
I was
the
gonna
bus.
say, he just blamed her for that. Yeah,
That's how we roll.
all right, okay.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, with conditions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with the project.
Thank you.
Okay, and I am looking for a motion to receive and file submitted documents and exhibits.
Move to receive and file documents as exhibits as presented at this hearing.
Second.
All right, no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. This hearing is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you're gonna put pictures on the front of these covers or whatever of each of us, you know, get my good side, okay? I'd appreciate it.
Want to announce when the next one is and where? Do we have to do that? Or is it all just noticed legally sufficiently without council announcing it? Or should we
These have
announce
been
it?
properly noticed. Thank you for asking. The next meeting is, the next public hearing is scheduled for, as I stated previously, November 6th at 10:30 a.m. or as soon thereafter here in Council Chambers 315 East Kennedy Boulevard.